visual.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 7th International Conference on Science, Education and Technology, or ICOSETH 2025. It's a great honor and a precious opportunity for me, Sabrina Devinta, as the Master of Ceremony for today's event. Before we proceed, please allow me to greet the honorable guest of today. The honorable guest, the Rector of Universitas Sebelas Maret, represented by the Vice Rector for Academic and Research, Universitas Sebelas Maret, Profesor Dr. Fitria Rahmawati, SSI, MSI. The Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sebelas Maret, Dr. Imam Sujedi, MSI. The Vice Dean of Academic and Research, Profesor Dr. Payet Nurma Yunita Indrianti, SPD, MSI, MSc. The Vice Dean of Non-Academic Affairs, Dr. Yuyun Estrianto, STMT. The Vice Dean of Student and Alumni Affairs, Professor Dr. Slamet Subiantoro, MSI. And our esteemed Chairman, Professor Sulistyo Saputro, MSI, PhD. And to the Honorable, our keynote speakers, Professor Vicente Talanque from University of Arizona, United States, Professor Won-Koo Lee from University of Sogang, South Korea, Professor Fitria Rahmawati from Universitas Sebelas Maret, Indonesia, and Professor Azlan bin Kamari from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. Distinguished guests, and to all of the committee and participants who attend this event offline and online as well. Before we commence our agenda today, allow me to give you the schedule of today's event. First, opening. Second, national anthem. Third, welcoming remarks. Fourth, first plenary session. Fifth, second plenary session. Sixth, parallel session, and the last one is closing. Ladies and gentlemen, taking the theme of today's technology, literacy and social culture in science education, the ICOSETH 2025 is aimed to be a forum to accommodate researchers, educators, practitioners, government officials, and other stakeholders to share insights, perspectives, and recent trends in science education and educational research within the context of Society 5.0. We are glad to welcome all of you to this discussion at the ICOSETH 2025. Firstly, this event will begin with the rendition of the national anthem. Now I kindly ask to every one of you to sing the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya. The audiences, if possible, please raise or please be in a proper position.
Sayalah aku berdiri
and gentlemen, please be seated. Distinguished guests, before moving on to the next agenda, let us enjoy a cultural performance, the beautiful Gambyong dance presented by UPKD FKIP UNS. Without any further ado, please give a warm welcome to UPKD FKIP UNS. PKD FKIP UNS for the great performance. The next agenda is welcoming speech by our esteemed chairman, Professor Sulistyo Saputro, MSc PhD. To Professor Sulistyo Saputro, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here with us today. We are very pleased to welcome you in this annual international conference on science, education and technology held by Doctorate Program of Science Education, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sebelas Maret University. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who helped us make this event come together to become a success. First, the Honorable of our Rector, Professor Hartono, and Vice Rector for Academic and Research, Professor Fitria Rahmawati, our Dean, Dr. Imam Sujedi, Vice Dean for Academic and Research, Professor Norma Yunita Indrianti, Vice Dean for Non-Academic Affairs, Dr. Yuyun S. Trianto, and also Vice Dean of Student Affairs and Alumni, Professor Slamet Subiantoro. Also, of course, our special honorable speaker, Professor Vicente Talangkir from Arizona University, United States of America. Good evening, Prof. Talangkir. Professor Woon Ko Lee from Sogang University of South Korea, Professor Azlan Kamari from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia, and also Prof. Fitria Rahmawati from Universitas Sebelas Maret, Surakarta. Also our distinguished participants. In today's conference, the theme is integrating science, education, and technology innovation to achieve SDGs and 21st century competencies is both timely and relevant. In this context, it becomes crucial for us as educators and also for researchers to rethink and transform the way science is taught and also learned. Information technology offers us endless opportunities to make our science education more engaging, accessible, and also impactful. By integrating into science learning, we can better prepare our future generation to solve complex challenges and thrive in an increasingly digital world. This conference serves as a platform for us to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and explore how information technology can play a significant role in shaping the future of science education, especially as we transition into Society 5.0. We proud of you to able to host our conference today by hybrid meeting, but I hope this conference will be valuating to all of you. Thank you very much for your attention. Please make our conference really cheerful for us. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor, for the outstanding speech. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is welcoming speech by the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sebelas Maret, represented by Professor Dr. Paidin Mayunita Indrianti as the Vice Dean of Academic and Research. To Professor Nurma, the stage is yours.
Yes, nice music to welcome. Thank you very much, the committee. Yes, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, good morning, everybody. I would like to thank you for Vice Rector for Academic and Research Affairs, Universitas Maret, and then all speakers today for ICOSETH, the 7 ICOSETH. First is Professor Vicente Talanker from University of Arizona, and then Prof. Won Kuli from Sogang University, South Korea, Prof. Aslan Kamari from UPSI, Malaysia, and also Prof. Fitria Rahmawati from Universitas Sebelas Maret, the head of Department of Doctoral Program of Science Education, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Professor Sustrio Saputro PhD, and then all presenters in ICOSETH that can hear offline in Tower UNS and also online in Zoom, and also all participants of 7 ICOSETH 2025. Yes, this is a appreciation for the committee that can have this 7 ICOSETH International Conference on Science, Education, and Technology that now in 2025 is already the 7, in the 7 conference. That the conference is already annual, and then based on the report from the committee that this year we have 64 abstract, 64 abstract to be presented in a parallel session, and of course we will learn so much knowledge and also research finding, actual research finding by the keynote speaker as well. Yes. And the international conference that held by Doctoral Program of Science Education, this is one of the activities to support internationalization in our faculty as well as in Universitas Sebelas Maret. Our faculty have the vision to have a reputable international reputation. We also have the international conference. We also have scholar exchange for here in Indonesia as well as abroad. And we have the student exchange, and of course joint publication as joint research for our scholar as well as our student. Yes, and then our faculty of Teacher Training and Education is one of the faculty in Universitas Sebelas Maret. In UNS we have 16 faculties, so 14 faculties and 2 schools. And FTTE is the biggest faculty, yes, because we have 49 study program that we have to organize, and for doctoral programs we have 5 study program. For the master we have 18 study program. For the bachelor now we have 25 study programs, and we have one of the study program that in a teacher profession. And this conference is held by one of the our doctoral study program. Thank you very much, Prof. Sulis and the committee that success to have invite all of the scholars to share, to discuss the research finding for the development of science education research here in Indonesia. And then thank you very much the participation for all of the presenters from abroad and also from Indonesia. Hopefully this is not the last conference that you follow. You will also join in every conference we have every year. Thank you very much, and then I would like to invite Prof. Fitria to open the conference officially after this. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor, for the remarkable speech. The next agenda is opening remarks by the Rector of UNS, represented by Vice Rector for Academic and Research, Universitas Sebelas Maret, Professor Dr. Fitria Rahmawati, SSE, MSc. To Professor Dr. Fitria Rahmawati, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semuanya. The Honorable Vice Dean of Academic and Research, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Universitas Sebelas Maret. The Honorable Head of Doctorate Program in Natural Science Education. And today we have also the Head of LPPMP UNS, all of the organizing committee and all of the participants. Today, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this important occasion. And I would like to thank to Doctorate Program of Science Education for all of the effort in organizing the annual conference, 7th International Conference on Science Education and Technology 2025. Most importantly, I want to extend my warmest welcome to all of our distinguished speakers who are joining us online today. Professor Vicente Talanque from Arizona University, Professor Woon Koo Lee from Sogang University, South Korea, and Professor Azlan Kamari from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. And maybe I also must to thank to myself, Professor Fitria Rahmawati from Universitas Sebelas Maret. It is a great honor that you can share your time and knowledge with us in this conference. And even though today is Saturday, I'm glad to see some familiar faces, some famous faces in this event. I appreciate much for your effort to come physically or online today. And I believe that this conference will proceed successfully today. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays university must pursue knowledge and create a stimulating intellectual environment for students, but also we must need to act more to foster ground for economic growth, become central node in urban and regional economies, produce social equity, and also demonstrate research that will impact globally. I believe that this conference will be an interest for all of us. And once again, I would like to welcome you all, both personally and on behalf of Universitas Sebelas Maret. I hope you enjoy this conference, sharing the knowledge and having fruitful discussion. Therefore, by reciting Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the 7th International Conference on Science, Education and Technology, ICOSETH 2025. Enjoy the conference. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Professor, for opening the eye. Ladies and gentlemen, before moving forward to the next agenda, we are pleased to inform the representative of the Rector, the Board of Universitas Sebelas Maret, and all the speakers to have photo session on the stage. And also for the participants in the Zoom meeting, please turn on your camera for a while. Very well. And during the first plenary session, this session will feature two esteemed keynote speakers who will delve into their respective fields of expertise, providing valuable insights and sparking meaningful discussions. In this session, we have Professor Vicente Talanquer from the University of Arizona, United States, and Professor Won Koo Lee from University of Sogang, South Korea. The session would be led by Dr. Ari Shahidu Sidik, SPD, MPD. He is one of the lecturer of Chemistry Education Department, Universitas Sebelas Maret. So, without any further ado, please welcome Dr. Ari Shahidu Sidik, SPD, MPD.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Vice Rector of Academic and Research, Professor Fitria Rahmawati, the Honorable Vice Dean of Academic and Research, Professor Dr. Pait Nurma Yunita, the Honorable Chairman of the Conference and Doctorate Program Head of Study Program, Professor Sulistyo Saputro, PhD, and the Honorable all of the professor, lecturer, and participant of the 7 ICOSETH that attend here virtually and on-site. And special greeting delivered to our honorable speakers, Professor Vicente Talanquer and Professor Won Koo Lee. Professor Vicente and Professor Won, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
For the okay, thank you very much for the confirmations. For the operator, could you please to share the Zoom meeting slide? For the operators, we are sorry. Okay, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to serve you as a moderator in these keynote speaker sessions. We already have 2 keynote speakers here. For the first is Professor Vicente Talanquer, and for the second keynote speaker is Professor Won Koo Lee from Sogang University, Korea. And this is for the Professor Vicente. It's if I'm not mistaken, it is second time we invite Professor Vicente to become our speakers in doctorate program of science education. And for Professor Won, it's the first time. And maybe we can further collaborate for the second and third time also, Professor Won. So without any further ado, before we start our keynote speaker sessions, I would like to read the curriculum vitae of our keynote speaker. For the first keynote speaker, we have Professor Vicente Talanquer, distinguished professor from Arizona University. For the education and training, Professor Vicente Talanquer has Bachelor of Science in Chemistry from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, Master of Science in Chemistry also from Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, and Doctorate of Philosophy in Chemistry, Physical Chemistry, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico. For professional experience, Professor Vicente Talanquer, it's a professor from Chemistry and Biochemistry, University of Arizona, School of Chemistry, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, and also have visiting scholars, James Franck Institute, University of Chicago, and research assistants, School of Chemistry, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico. For the award and honor, Professor Vicente Talanquer in 2024 have award from Trailist Progress Champions Award, Student Success and Retention Innovation, University of Arizona. ACS Award for Achievement in Research for the Teaching and Learning of Chemistry, American Chemical Society, and CCP Educational Research Award, Council of Scientific Society Presidents. And for the society members, and Professor Vicente have so many awards and honors. And for the society members, Professor Vicente is a member of American Society for Advancement of Science, American Chemical Society, and National Association for Research in Science Teaching. So Professor Vicente have so many curriculum vitae. If I read all of the curriculum vitae of the Professor Vicente, maybe it will finish tomorrow. Okay. So without any further ado, Professor Vicente already with us and will be followed by presentation from Professor Woon Kuli. I will read the curriculum vitae for Prof. Woon Kuli after Professor Vicente presentations. So Professor Vicente, good evening in your time.
Good evening.
Okay, you have 40 minutes for the presentations and followed by question and answer. For the participant, please give applause for Professor Vicente Talencare.
Can you see my screen?
On process, okay.
It is an honor for me to be able to participate in this conference. As it was mentioned, this is my second time presenting at ICOSETH. And before I start with my talk, I would like more or less to situate you where I am. I live in a small, comparatively small city in the state of Arizona. It's called Tucson. And the University of Arizona is situated in what is called the Sonoran Desert in the United States. I'm originally from Mexico. Tucson is around 100 kilometers north of the border with Mexico. The university is a state university with around 50,000 students. And at the university, my work for the past 26 years since I moved to the United States has been on doing research on chemistry education. At least in the United States, is considered discipline-based education research. And I also been involved in projects that have served look for the development of educational resources and approach and academic performance based on the results of our research. For this presentation, I'm going to just focus on a kind of a narrow aspect of the work that we have been doing in recent years that has to do with systems thinking in chemistry, but I will try to present it in a more general way for system thinking in STEM education, and present a framework that we developed to hopefully facilitate the implementation of systems thinking in different disciplines, particularly in chemistry, but in general in all STEM fields. So I think that it would be important to justify why are we interested in systems thinking, and why is that I think more and more educators are starting to consider that it's important to start integrating systems thinking into science education. As you know, the world is facing major challenges that we know are likely to affect the life of our students, both at the personal and the professional levels. And many of these issues, challenges, affect different aspects of areas of interest in all scientific disciplines. I find this study that was published in 2023 a good reference to highlight in terms of the challenges that we are facing and the urgency of preparing citizens, professionals to deal with these challenges, understand these challenges, propose solutions for these future and present challenges. This framework is known as the Planetary Boundaries Framework, And the investigators, the researchers in this study describe 9 important planetary boundaries that if we cross them, they are expected to have a major impact on life on our planet. So this figure represents the nine boundaries. You can see there climate change, ocean acidification, land systems change, etc. And the different color coding and the different size of the fragments that you see there are trying to represent to what extent have we surpassed those boundaries with serious consequences for our planet. So I have this other image that in a different way tried to make explicit that actually in the past 10 years we have already surpassed what are considered like the high-risk boundaries for 6 of 13 processes associated with these 9 boundaries. Only 3 of the 3 processes are still in what is called the safe operating space, but it's clear from this type of analysis that we are, as the human race and life in our planet is facing serious problems that if we do not address, we are likely to have to face serious consequences. So from this perspective, it is at least clear to me that citizens, professionals, must understand these issues and be able to contribute to address them. Now, recently, this is a study that was conducted in 2024. This was a survey conducted by the Villars Institute, that is a NGO that works with young people. In this study, they surveyed individuals from different ages, different countries. You can see here the statistics of the people of the students that participated in this survey. And they asked them questions in terms of what things or what type of issues they consider important for them to know about and be able to participate in finding solutions for them. And as you can see, of course, these are students that are informed about the issues, but they highlighted systems thinking as one of the most important aspects they would like to know or they should know for their career and for impact on their lives. So from this perspective, both from what we know about the challenges that the human race faces and the interests of the students, paying attention to these ideas about systems thinking seem to be important for science education. Now, this implies that we should change our educational goals, or at least move in a direction that allows to better prepare the students, citizens to face these challenges. If you think of, at least in the United States, the traditional curriculum in STEM tends to be a curriculum that puts the emphasis on the acquisition of content knowledge and the development of practical skills. Now, this has been challenged over the years. This has changed little by little over the years. My experience is as an educator in the United States, and in 2013, when the next generation science standards were generated in the United States, well, the goal was to enrich our educational targets to pay more close attention to ways of knowing in science, an emphasis on not necessarily developing all content knowledge, but focusing our attention on central ideas, engaging the students in science practices like modeling, building arguments, constructing explanations, and also think about concepts that are cross-cutting across different disciplines. Now, I think that by now, like 12 years after the next generation science standards were launched in the United States, we have increased the expectations of what the STEM curriculum should address. So if you look at new guidelines, for example, the ones developed by the OECD, you can see that now there is an emphasis not only on developing ways of knowing, but also developing ways of thinking. And those goes from critical thinking, system thinking, of course, but also future thinking, creative thinking. So different ways of thinking that we think are important for individuals to be able to face the challenges that we are likely to encounter, or they are likely to encounter, with flexibility and creativity. But we also want them to develop the ability to develop useful ways of working, of collaborating with each other, communicating, being able to adapt to different circumstances. Ways to pay attention to sustainability issues, adaptability, social justice, etc. So as you can see, we are conceiving or starting to conceive a science education that is much more ambitious than just the development of content knowledge in our areas. And of course, I'm not going to address in my presentation all of this, how can we move in this direction, but I'm going to narrow my attention to how can we embed more systems thinking into our curricula, and what does it mean? How does it look like when we try to do so? So, what I'm trying to communicate in my talk is that as STEM educators, I think that we need to recognize that we need to equip our students with knowledge and skills that will allow them to understand and contribute to address multiple challenges that we are facing and we are likely to face. So how can we do it? So this is just a proposal. There are different ideas. This is one of them on how we can move in this direction. So in 2020, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, I had the opportunity to collaborate with Dr. Peter Mahaffey, Roy Tasker, and Bob Bucat on starting to develop an educational framework to embed systems thinking in chemistry education, but in general in STEM education. And we identified different areas in which we thought that it was important to start transforming the curriculum to create opportunities for students to engage in relevant and meaningful ways with central ideas in the discipline, science and disciplinary practices, and issues that have to do with socio-environmental literacy, responsibility, and the ability to collaboratively engage in problem solving. So in this framework, what we propose is that we had to rethink what is to be learned in our STEM courses and what purpose that is learned, and also to think how it is to be learned. So we had to essentially reconceptualize the curriculum, the instruction, and the assessment if we want to move in this more ambitious direction. So in terms of what is to be learned and for what purpose, what we wanted to emphasize is this idea that we want students to develop ways of knowing, ways of thinking, ways of working, and ways of acting that would allow them, that would enable them, that would empower them, to think more reflectively about the challenges that we are facing in our planet. And we put an emphasis in terms of ways of knowing on highlighting central ideas and science practices that are important in our discipline. In our case, it was the case of chemistry, but that applies to all disciplines. That we wanted to emphasize two major ways of reasoning that we thought were critical for understanding the type of phenomena that we are dealing with at the planetary level, like mechanistic reasoning and systems thinking. That we wanted to create opportunities for students to engage in collaborative problem solving and the ability to communicate between or among them and with others in terms of what are they doing and for what purpose, and also ways of acting. And we wanted to emphasize the importance of students learning to think in a sustainable way and in a responsible way, and responsibility in terms of responsibility to the environment and responsibility to other humans and responsibility also with their own health. So that is the things that we started talking about when we were reformulating the way we wanted or we thought that it was important to reformulate science education and chemistry education in particular. But and in this perspective, we start talking about, okay, what type of systems thinking skills we wanted to embed, in the curricula that we wanted to develop. So we identified 4 areas in which we thought that it was important for the students to develop systems thinking skills. One has to do with what are the components of the system of interest, or what we call system composition. Then how those components are organized in a space that we could call the system structure, and how they are interacting with each other, of course. And then how those interactions, the structure, organization leads to particular behaviors, and then what are the consequences of those behaviors for the system and for other systems interacting with it. So as I said, we identified skills, basic skills of what we identify as core systems thinking skills that we thought that whatever activities, instructional activities, assessments developed in the classroom, we wanted our students to be able to engage in a successful manner. So this defined, in my perspective, how I conceptualize systems thinking skills, that is abilities to identify system components, the boundaries of a system at different scales, not only at the macroscopic scale. In chemistry, it's important also to think at the submicroscopic scale. In biology, maybe important to think at the cellular scale, at the organism level, etc. So the levels that are important will depend on the discipline. Learn to explore the interactions between system components and how those interactions lead to organization over time and space. Infer how those interactions are going to actually affect the behavior of the system at the different levels of analysis, and then figure out how to recognize how those interactions, the behavior of the system, can be characterized at different levels: environmental level, social level, economic level, but also understand how a system can interact with other systems to create even more complex systems. And we also thought that it was important to recognize that it was not only critical to change what the students were going to be learning, but also how they are going to be learning. So also to change the instruction in terms of how to engage students in meaningful ways with the problems we wanted to analyze. So we thought that it was critical to recognize that the type of education we wanted to develop was context-based, that it was going to be centered on the students engaging in the analysis of a relevant phenomenon or problem or a project, that it was going to be, or we were going to encourage educators to create an active learning environment, particularly an environment that used a learning cycle for the students to explore the problem, start building ideas, apply those ideas, integrate those ideas, and move forward in the resolution of the problem or the understanding of the phenomenon. And then, of course, this idea that we wanted also to develop collaborative learning skills. So with that in mind, more recently, I had the opportunity to work with Alicia Shosda from Canada on trying to develop a guide or a set of guidelines for educators interested in constructing lessons or educational units, embedding more systems thinking and these different ways of thinking about what to teach and how to teach it. So we develop a framework that more like try to emphasize how to plan lessons or units, how to implement those lessons, and how to assess those lessons. So I just want to briefly present to you the framework. If you are interested to read more in detail about it, it's already published in the Journal of Chemical Education. So the basic idea is that we think that in order to develop lessons or units of instruction that are going to emphasize the development of these systems thinking skills, it's important to plan with the idea that we need to contextualize No, we need to find a relevant context in which the concepts and ideas of science that we want students to learn are relevant, are meaningful, that we need to define the scope, the focus of the analysis. Most of the problems that we want our students to learn to understand are complex. So it's clear that we need to focus our attention on what aspects of the phenomenon we want to investigate. Then define what are our learning outcomes, and not only learning outcomes in terms of content knowledge to acquire, but all these ideas of ways of knowing, thinking, acting, and etc. And then, well, engage in the design of an instructional sequence. So, for example, for the idea, just to give you a concrete example, in teaching chemistry, that is the area of my expertise, we can identify that many ideas that are related to chemical reactivity, particularly acid-base reactivity, can be introduced and are relevant to understand the phenomenon of ocean acidification. So that's an idea of, that's how an illustration of how is that we are trying to contextualize the presentation and discussion of ideas. But then we need to recognize that the problem of ocean acidification is complex. So we have to identify what aspects we want the students to recognize, what type of interactions, what type of components we want them to think about, what type of behaviors we want to discuss with them. So we narrow the scope of the problem to facilitate the students' understanding. Then we define our learning objectives, paying attention to, as I said, not only concepts in the discipline, but also ways of thinking in the discipline, practices, socio-environmental competencies. And finally, we engage in designing the lessons, where we try to build a sequence of ideas with a clear plan of when and how we are going to start introducing these ideas. So this gives you a sense of how we think that someone interested in integrating more systems thinking should plan a lesson. Then we identify, once you have a plan, and how would you start implementing it. But of course, as you plan, you also have to think about the sequence of steps that you are going to follow during the implementation. And we identify, again, 4 things that we think that is critically important if you want to help the students develop system thinking skills. One, you need to map out the problem. So you need to present kind of an advanced organizer for the students so that they understand the problem and why it's interesting and important that they understand the problem. Then I start zooming in into the analysis of in our case, the chemistry of the phenomenon. Then zoom out to connect what they have learned about the phenomenon, to connect it to other problems or other effects at different levels. And then connect with things that are relevant for humans and organisms in our planet. So just to illustrate it in more concrete ways, we typically begin lessons by asking students to build what we call a system map, in which they start with their prior knowledge, identifying what do they know about the phenomenon, what components they know are important, what interactions they can recognize, etc. So this is mapping out the problem. For that, Dr. Peter Mahaffey, who is the head of this Center for Visualization in Science, has created a very useful tool, at least a tool that I think is very interesting, that allows you to, and your students, is available for free. If you use this code, I forgot how to call it, this thing here, you can go directly to the site. The site is going to look like this, and if you go into it, you can create system maps, within the system. So I think this is a very useful tool to engage in starting creating system maps. So we engage our students in creating these system maps as a beginning of the lessons, so to map out the problem. Then we start introducing chemical ideas, what we call the zooming in, to start thinking about the phenomenon at the chemical level in our case, but in other areas would be at the biological, the physical relevant levels for the student. That's what we call the zoom in into the problem. Once we have introduced the ideas, the students better understand the chemistry or the science of the phenomenon, we zoom out. So we try to connect these concepts to problems. For example, once you understand a little bit of acid-base chemistry, then you can connect to understand why is that our oceans are being acidified and what are the consequences of those changes. And then to try to connect, not just stay with the chemistry, but to start discussing how is that these changes, for example, in ocean acidity, affect other aspects like the organisms that are living in the oceans, the human communities that depend on those organisms to survive, etc. So there's this idea is kind of going in to understand the phenomenon and then going out to see how that phenomenon affects other areas, like biology, like earth sciences, but also how it affects the things at the social level, at the economic level, and of course at the environmental level. And then we also have been trying to think very carefully about how to evaluate our students, not only our students at the end, but during the process of learning, what is called the formative assessment. So we have engaged also in thinking about what type of activities would allow us to see a student's development of the skills and ways of reasoning, ways of acting, etc., as we are engaging into the phenomenon, and also to reflect on the data that we collect to how we can improve the lessons that we are developing. So as I mentioned, if you are interested in looking at the framework in more detail, you can find the paper again. You can access it through here. And the paper describes more specifically these different phases in the construction of a lesson that introduces systems thinking in chemistry education, but I think the framework can be translated to any STEM discipline. If you're interested in seeing the type of examples that we have developed, we developed a website. It's called the SASTICE website. Again, accessible through this code, but I would like just to show you a little bit about the website. So this is a website in which you can find, again, a description of the different phases, but you can see a set of examples that we have developed where we show how we can teach chemistry, in our case, embedding system thinking with clear contextualization on phenomena. So for example, if we go to greenhouse gases, you can see here examples of how we contextualize, how we define the central ideas, the core practices. You can see an example of a PowerPoint that illustrates the type of ideas and concepts that we discuss with or that we propose to discuss with the students. A plan of how many sessions for each of the different phases of the implementation, etc. So I think that the examples better illustrate the ideas that I'm just trying to describe here in very general terms. We also developed a YouTube site where, it's just, we wanted also to communicate in different ways. So where we kind of visually and verbally define and describe the different phases in this process of developing lessons or units of instruction that include systems thinking. And with that, I want to acknowledge the people that work on the development of this framework and the development of examples, in particularly Peter Mahaffey, that is kind of the leader of the group, and Alicia Sosda, with whom I had the opportunity to work in the development framework. But everything is associated with this project that is a project supported by the UPAC. And with that, I will be very happy to engage in questions or discussion. If you want to engage with me on a personal level or individual level, the best way to do it is by contacting me via email. And you can find more about the work that we have been doing in this website. And here you have the 4 codes that you can use to access the resources I referred to during my presentation. And with that, I think I want to finish because I hope we will have some time for questions and conversation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Mahafi, for your insightful presentations. Please give applause for Professor Mahafi presentations. I'm sorry, Professor Talent Care with collaborated with Professor Mahafi, right? Okay, I'm really sorry, Professor Talent Care.
No problem.
And for the sessions, we open for the question and answer sessions for the 3 questions. Could you please raise your hand in participant who attend here in person, and for the participant in Zoom, you can also raise your hand to deliver the questions directly to Professor Talent Care. Is there any questions? If not, I will be the first. Okay, Professor Nurma, could you please to deliver your questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ari. Good morning, Prof. Talamker. Nice to see you again via Zoom meeting. I think this is the second time for ICOSETH, but you have already became our guest lecturer in Master of Chemistry Education, yes, before the pandemic. Prof. Talamker, I have the question related to the ambition of educational target related to the science education that you mentioned about the ways of thinking and then the ways of working until the umbrella.
Mhm.
What is the philosophy of the framework the ambition? I mean that this is the philosophy of a bolt or screw or something, or because this is the umbrella, so you have to do the smallest until the large one. That's my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I think that I don't conceptualize as starting from the bottom. It's just highlighting the different levels at which we should engage our students. Now, how do we engage them and in which moment we engage them may depend on the level of the students, our educational goals. I just think that the umbrella for me illustrates not going from, but the fact that we typically start very narrow in our disciplines, not paying attention to just chemical concepts, chemical ideas. But in our chemistry courses, in our biology courses, we have to expand our vision. No, we have to connect with other disciplines. We have to recognize that we also need to develop skills that we typically do not associate with chemistry learning. No, that the ability to collaborate with others, to communicate, to think about the future, no, to make predictions and think in anticipatory ways about how is that we are going to behave if this happens? How can we avoid that this happens? So is this creating more opportunities in our chemistry classes to expand the thinking with the scientific knowledge, of course. I'm not saying that we don't have to develop the scientific knowledge, but we have to use that knowledge with a broader purpose than just learning chemistry for the sake of learning chemistry or learning biology for the sake of learning biology.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Vicente. Is there any other questions from the participant in the Zoom meeting or here in person? May I ask something, Professor Vicente?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after joining your system thinking workshop in Thailand last year with Alicia and other professors in chemistry education, so I introduced the system thinking framework that you delivered today to our student here in chemistry education department. The comment from our student is this framework is comprehensive. And the other one is a complex, especially if implemented in Indonesian's context. So if we want to extend your framework to implement here in Indonesia, we face the challenge for the first challenge is the context that we bring to our students in the classroom. It's too large for them in Indonesia. And the second one, we face the challenge for implementing the SOXME diagrams. We usually use the SOXME or the concept map as a learning tool for the assessment. But for the SOXME, we cannot figure out how to assess the SOXME with the system thinking skills. So that is the question from my students.
Yeah, so I understand the complexities, and I don't think that we still have the answers for everything, because we are also learning how to do it as we develop these tools. However, I think that one of the issues that I see is that we are so concerned about evaluating our students that we don't understand that these tools are tools that have been developed to create opportunities for students to engage in different ways of thinking. So it is more about formative assessment than summative assessment. No, these tools are tools that allow me to see how the students are thinking, what knowledge do they have, what connections they can start making. And then if we ask them to make a SOCME at the beginning,
Sorry, Professor Vicente, could you please to wait for a second because we lost the voice. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay. The voice is
Oh,
back.
sorry.
Okay. You can continue, Professor Vicente.
So do I repeat? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I was saying that the tools, I think that if we use the tools to formatively assess students, yes, to see their progress, to recognize what they can do at the beginning and how that compares to what they can do in the middle and at the end. So the way I use it in my classrooms, I don't use the SOCMICs for summative purposes. I use them for formative purposes. I ask my students to build one SOCME at the beginning, before the lesson starts, just to get a sense of what is their prior knowledge. Then one in the middle, just to see what new ideas they are bringing, what new connections are they doing. And then at the end, I want to see, okay, at what level they have reached. And then that provides information to me of the success of the lesson, but not necessarily I use them as tools to assess the students and assign a grade to them. So I think that we need to differentiate what the tools can do for us and what other tools we will have to implement to assign a grade. That I understand that there are structural issues that we all have to do with. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. Is there any other questions? Okay, for the last questions, maybe I will be deliver one questions again from my students, Professor Vicente. We already implement the system thinking frameworks in these last 2 years. For the first year, we implement system thinking based on hierarchical system thinking skills in schools. And for these second years, in 2025, based on fundamental your works and for your works and with Alicia Cezeda and combined with Professor Mahavi, we also learn to implement the system thinking with the AOP frameworks. So we confuse Professor Vicente what the skills indicators should we implement in schools, because we here have maybe a Richmond system thinking or AOP frameworks, and also you propose to implement system thinking skills in your frameworks. So which system thinking skills that we can implement in our schools? Thank you.
Yeah, and again, I'm not sure I'm going to give you an answer that is satisfactory. because I think that one of the issues that we are facing right now is that there are many definitions of systems thinking. Yes. So at this moment, I think that people have. I mean, it's a relatively new, not, but at least in chemistry, it's a relatively new perspective that has brought to the table. And even within the people working with systems thinking, I think that we have different views of what skills we want the students to develop, or what purpose we want the students to develop those skills. So I don't think I have an answer. In fact, I was thinking very recently that we need to have a conversation, a discussion on what is that we understand by systems thinking and what type of skills we want the students to develop. For me, if you ask me my personal opinion as an educator, I think that for me it's critically important that the students start to think about systems in holistic ways, that they can recognize the components, they can recognize their interactions, their organization, and the effects of that into the behavior of the system. So I have a very narrow approach that is always in my lessons. I emphasize components, organizations, interactions, and effects. And that is the perspective that I have. But I recognize that there are different perspectives, and I don't think that we have a uniform view of what should we do.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Vicente.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one question from Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Ibu Juni Fitria.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you so much. Thank you, Professor Talangkul, for your inspiring talk. You mentioned the importance of the design-based and integrating system thinking and socio-environmental responsibility. How do you think design thinking can help students create more innovative and too complex real-world problems?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question. So can you speak a little bit more about the question, please?
Tadi ulang Ibu pertanyaannya.
Oh yeah. How do you think design thinking can help students create more innovative and responsible solutions to complex real-world problems?
Yeah, again, I'm not quite sure I'm going to address it fully, but I think that one thing to recognize, and I'm based on things on my experience here in the United States, that is not necessarily the same in different parts of the world, but it's one of the things is creating the space. Typically in a science classroom, there is no space to engage students in conversations and discussions that go beyond just talking about the content. So the question is how create the space and the opportunities for students to engage in the analysis of data, analysis of data that goes beyond chemical data or biological data that has to do with socioeconomical data, environmental data, that allows them to recognize the problem, the issue, the size of the problem that we are talking about. And then we as educators have to recognize that these are very complex problems, that the students are not going to be able to fully understand all aspects, that we have to make a decision on what aspects we want to discuss, because we have limited time, limited resources, and we may want also just to focus on one aspect. It's not I don't think that it can be our goal that our students, after completing our courses, will fully understand these very complex problems. But at least we can create opportunities for them to engage in argument, discussion, explanation, modeling about one aspect of the phenomenon that asks them to go beyond just understanding the chemistry or the biology, but to see how the chemistry or the biology is connected to the human side of the phenomenon, the environmental side, and our own personal responsibility in creating the problem and maybe start to contribute to the solution of the problem.
Is that enough?
That's really interesting. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the discussion. So I believe that we want to further
cannot-
extend on our discussions, but the time is up. So thank you very much, Professor Vicente, for your inspiring talks today at 7 ICOSETH. Hopefully we can meet again in person. Maybe in next year we will meet again in the ICC in Turkey. Thank you very much once again, Professor Vicente Talancare. Give a big
you.
applause for Professor Vicente Talancares.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we want to move on to our second keynote speaker, Professor Woon Koo. Professor Woon Koo. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, I can clearly hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for waiting for Professor Woon Koo. Before we start our second keynote speaker, I would like to read Professor Woon Koo curriculum vitae. Professor Woon Koo is professor from Department of Chemistry from Sogang University, Seoul, Korea. For the education's backgrounds, Professor Woon Koo have bachelor degree cum laude in chemistry from Sogang University, and for Master of Science in Chemistry from Sogang University also, and PhD in Chemistry from Illinois at Urbana-Champaign University. So for the employment, Professor Woon Koo, present professor from Department of Chemistry, Sogang University. Visiting professor from Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, Director of Research Affairs from Sogang University, Alexander von Humboldt Fellow, Max Planck Institute for Cool Research, and then postdoctoral fellow, Department of Chemistry, UC Berkeley, USA. For the research interest, Professor Woon Koo developing a new synthetic methodologies using chiral acidurines, synthesis of biological active nitrogen-containing compounds or alkaloid, and synthesis of unnatural amino acid and their derivative, and development of environmentally being organic reactions. For the international activities from 2010 until present, Professor Woon Koo have collaboration between Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, and participating in education's collaboration program. For 2016 until present, Professor Woon Koo served as a director of the Career for International Cooperation to Science and Technology. And for the awards, Professor Woon Koo have award from the Minister of Education for International Collaboration. So, Professor Woon Koo, this is your time to present your keynote speech. The time is 40 minutes, and for the participant, let's give big applause for Professor Woon Koo. The time is yours.
Good morning. Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi, Professor Woon.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the organizing committee to invite me to the beautiful conference. And I feel sorry I cannot be in Solo today. I was in Solo. I visited one time Solo, and I still have a wonderful memory about Solo. I wish I can visit Solo and meet you personally in near future. Can you all see this screen?
Yes, we can see
Good.
your screen.
So Professor Vicente talked about the ways of thinking to challenge many complex problems we are facing with, and including environmental problems. I like to focus on a small area today, and I will talk about organic chemistry. I was trained as an organic chemist and worked in this area for almost 40 years. And during my career, I recognized many people thinking, talking about organic chemistry is not environmentally friendly because many organic chemical reactions produce polluting materials. So I've been thinking about how can we design organic reactions environmentally friendly. So we worked on solvent-free organic reactions and to set up organic reactions without any organic solvent. There can be some advantages and also challenges. Advantages are we can reduce solvent waste, and sometimes we can get very high yield, and the workup procedure becomes very simple, and purification also very simple. And we can save energy, and we can also have safety advantages. But there are some challenges also. We may have a mixing problem. If we do not use solvent, there can be some problem mixing the starting materials. And many times, these solvent-free reactions work on the lab scale. And we may have problems when we scale up the reactions. And also, we may have heat management, because the purpose we use a solvent is the solvent can be a heat sink. So if we have exothermal reactions, solvent may absorb the heat from the reactions. And we also can have a limitation in reaction type. We cannot use these solvent-free reactions in all kinds of organic reactions. And also, we may have a purification issue. And we need to consider all these advantages and challenges in designing organic reactions without solvent. So how do we usually run chemical reactions, especially organic reactions? So all organic reactions are solution-based chemistry. So if we think about the reaction system, the most abundant material is the solvent, right? So if we run a reaction with a 100 milliliter of organic solvent, there is only less than 1 gram of the reacting materials. So mostly the solvent takes most of the space in the reaction system. And why we use solvent when we run a reaction? Historically, we have lessons. We learned some lessons. So let's think about the grapes. So when we have crushed grapes, these crushed grapes will turn to wine. But if we have a dried grapes, if we keep the dried grapes for a long time, then nothing happens. What about milk? The milk can transform to yogurt, and we can have cheese, we can have a butter, and many dairy products from milk. But when we have a dried milk, nothing changes, right? So whatever time we keep dried milk, no reaction takes place. So we learned from many examples that conversion of one material into another one occurs in the liquid state, but not in the solid state. This is why we use solvent in many organic reactions. And I learned organic chemistry when I was at college, and nobody told me I could run organic reactions without solvent. So we just take using the organic solvent is natural, but I learned that that cannot be true in every organic reaction. So why are we interested in the solvent-free organic reactions? Because that can be environmentally friendly, and that can be also, we can achieve the green chemistry goals. By using without solvent technology, we can maximize atom economy, and when we minimize the use of solvent energy, and we can also minimize the production of the waste. So if we compare the traditional organic reaction versus solvent-free reaction, the traditional reactions use a large volume of organic solvent, and that may increase cost or waste and energy consumption. But solvent-free reactions minimize waste and simplify the purification step. And sometimes we can achieve better yield, chemical yield, with improved atom economy. So the traditional organic reactions have E factor at least 50 to 100. Or what is E factor means is if we produce 1 kilo of the product, how much material we use in the reaction, including solvent and including any kind of purifying the material when we purify the product. So if we want to obtain 1 gram of product, we can usually use more than 100 grams of the material. That means E factor 100. But when we go solvent-free organic reactions, we can decrease E factor less than 10. That means we do not use lots of material to produce the same amount of the product. Okay, let's go into a more specific example. This is what we learned recently. When we start with this kind of organic compound, and we want to cyclize and make a new carbon-carbon bond between this and this carbon. So we make a new carbon-carbon bond here. So the reaction condition is we put this material, then we add a little bit of transition metal catalyst, copper oxide nanoparticle, 5 mole%. Then hit the reaction mixture, and in the air. We do not need any kind of special instrument or equipment. And the reaction provides the cyclized product almost quantitative. So there's no solvent at all in this reaction. So this is a solvent-free reaction, and this reaction has very low E factor. And we use a cheap transition metal catalyst, and we can apply this kind of reaction in many variety of reactions. Now, this is what it looks like. So we have a vial here, and we put substrate and 5 mole% of copper oxide nanoparticle, and we put this vial in the heating block, aluminum heating block, and we put this aluminum heating block on the hot plate, and we have a temperature sensor here. So we set up a temperature, maybe 100, 120, and hit turn on the heat. Then the reaction proceeds in the reaction vial in the heating block. And we monitor the reaction by doing TLC. Then we finally notify the reaction is completed in a couple of hours. Then we add maybe 1 drop or 2 drops of solvent to wash out, filter and wash out this vial. Then remove the small amount of solvent, gives the cyclization product. Now, we did this cyclization reaction between this carbon and this carbon to have a bicyclic compound. And this is chemical yield. We can synthesize many variety of compounds in very high yield, and there is no side product. So this is a very efficient reaction. And this is just a crude animal, chart of this cyclization product. Maybe only organic chemist can understand what is nuclear magnetic resonance spectrum here. But when you look at the spectrum, there is some residue of ethyl acetate here, ethyl acetate, because we use ethyl acetate as when we clean the reaction vial. So a little bit of ethyl acetate residue here, but without the ethyl acetate, there's nothing else except this cyclization product. And when we want to synthesize this alkaloid natural product, they need this starting material. And from this starting material to the natural product, it's been almost published. So how can we obtain this starting material? We can start from this material and using the same technology with the copper oxide nanoparticle and heating the mixture at 150 degrees, 5 hours in the air, we can get 97% of the cyclization product. So synthesis of this natural product becomes very easy by using this solvent-free intramolecular cyclization reaction. Then we think about what is the mechanism of this cyclization reaction. Now, this is the proposed mechanism. We have this starting material, and we have acidic proton here. This proton is activated by carbonyl and another electron withdrawing group here. So pKa of this proton becomes very small number, which means acidic, becomes acidic. And we have 5 mole% of a copper oxide nanoparticle. So transition metal oxide has a basic property. So the transition metal oxide pulls off this acidic proton to generate carbon ion here, anion here. Then 1 electron transfer from anion to the metal provides this radical. Then we have a radical cyclization, intramolecular radical cyclization to obtain this 5-membered ring, to provide a radical, another radical in the benzene ring. And another 1 electron oxidation gives the cation, then losing the proton, regenerate this aromatic system. So we propose this radical mechanism. Because how do we know this process has a radical intermediate? When we do this reaction with the radical inhibitor, the reaction stops. The reaction is not going. So that is the reason that we have a radical intermediate, and we also need oxygen to reoxidize this copper species, because copper is reduced by 2 electrons in the process here. We have to regenerate the copper 2 species by oxidation. And oxygen in the air oxidize this reduced copper species. So we need air. So this is a perfect reaction conditions. We don't need a nitrogen environment. We don't need argon environment. We can do this reaction in open air, right? So this kind of reaction can be done anywhere by anybody, because this kind of reaction do not require any kind of special equipment. We just need a heating block and hot plate and buyout. That's it. Now, this kind of reaction can be applied to another reaction system to make six bicyclic system. So we have a starting material as acidic proton here. Then we use the same catalyst, copper oxide, and we used 1 drop acetonitrile because this starting material is a little bit sticky. So we needed a little bit minimum amount of solvent to mix this starting material and copper oxide nanoparticle. And heat the reaction mixture 70 degrees, 10 hours. We obtained a 90% of cyclization product. So this kind of solvent-free reaction can be applied in many organic reactions. Here's another example. Hydrogen. Hydrogen is an explosive material, and they do not sell hydrogen, neat hydrogen. Hydrogen is a liquid, but they do not sell liquid neat hydrogen because that can be used as a rocket fuel, and they cannot ship this hydrogen by air. So they only sell hydrogen in water, aqueous solution. But we found that from aqueous hydrogen, by reacting with carbon dioxide, we could obtain this ammonium carbamate salt, right? And this is a solid. So this is a solid hydrogen. Or what is the difference between the liquid and solid? When we have a liquid, it's not easy to transfer, or it is not easy to measure exact amount of liquid. But when we have a solid compound, it's easy, very easy to transport, and we can exactly measure the exact amount we need. So that is the benefit of solid compound. So when we use this solid ammonium carbamate, we use with many carbonyl compound, we could synthesize this pyrazole and this 6-membered heterocycles by just mix this solid hydrogen with carbonyl compound and just heat it. When we heat this ammonium carbamate, the carboxylation reaction proceeds, and we generate liquid hydrogen in the mixture. Then liquid hydrogen react with this carbonyl compound, give the cyclization product. So this is what we do the reaction. This is a solid hydrogen compound, white crystal. And mix the solid hydrogen and the liquid carbonyl compound using this simple device. So grind it, grind this mixture. Then put this mixture in the vial and heat the sample. Then we get this dehydration, cyclization product. So anybody can do this kind of chemistry. I know every family in Indonesia has this kind of device to make a sambal, right? So you can use that kind of simple device to run this reaction. So this is the result of the five-membered heterocyclic compound by using that grinding and heat process. The yield is very high and there is no side product at all. And here we have another example. Amine, liquid amine. I talked about the problem with the liquid. Most primary amines are liquid, and liquid amine do not have a good odor, and we have some handling problem. But when we react this liquid amine with carbon dioxide, we can have this ammonium carbamate salt, which is a solid, right? So this liquid amine turned to the solid amine, ammonium carbamate. And we can easily regenerate liquid amine by heating this solid. Then we lose carbon dioxide again, then we will regenerate liquid amine easily. So using this ammonium carbamate solid, this is a neutral solid, and use aldehyde, aromatic aldehyde. No solvent is included here, and just heat the mixture. Then we will lose carbon dioxide. Then the primary amine react with aromatic aldehyde to lose water molecule to provide imine. Then we put some catalyst, hydrogenation catalyst, then put the hydrogen volume. We can reduce this carbon-nitrogen double bond to obtain the single bond. And this is a typical reductive amination reaction. So we can run this reductive amination reaction without any kind of organic solvent. So this is the reaction setup. Again, in the vial, we put the ammonium carbamate solid amine, then aldehyde, then heat the mixture. Then if you look at closely here, you can see the water droplet here. That means condensation reaction is taking place to give you nitrogen carbon double bond. Then we put some hydrogenation catalyst here, then put the hydrogen volume. Then we can reduce carbon nitrogen double bond to obtain the reductive amination product. This is some examples with the aliphatic aldehyde. The yield is very high. Then this is with aromatic aldehyde. Again, the chemical yield is very high. So we can run this reductive amination reaction in the absence of any kind of organic solvent. And in terms of the catalyst, we found platinum oxide, 3 mole %, provides the optimal yield, 94% within 7 hours reaction time at 60 degree heating. So this is a very mild reaction condition without any organic solvent. Now, this is another example. of solvent-free organic reactions. Starting from this carbonyl ketone, we use hydrogen, alkyl or aromatic hydrogen. And in this case, we put 1 drop of phenol. This is a catalyst and also a solvent, but only 1 drop, no more than 1 drop. Then heat the mixture. Then in the first stage, we get the condensation product from this amino and the carbonyl to obtain this hydrogen. Then the proton from the phenol protonate this nitrogen, then activate this aziridine ring system. Then intramolecular cyclization reaction takes place to get this 5-membered ring. Then oxidation of this carbon-carbon double bond to lose this amine to give you this kirazole product. The yield is very high, and again, we do not need any kind of complex reaction system here. So no solvent except minimum amount of phenol has been used in this reaction, and we can obtain many substituted kirazole compounds in a very simple step, in one-step reaction with no solvent, kind of simple chemistry. Now, I showed you some examples of organic reactions which you can run without any organic solvent and without any kind of complex reaction devices and no special environment. This is open air reaction, so you can use this kind of reaction even in Indonesia. So this is a conclusion and outlook. Solvent-free organic reactions are sustainable and atom economical. And as you saw from this reaction, the chemical yields are very high, and we do not need a complex purification step. Just filter the catalyst and concentrate. Then that's it. And we use copper oxide catalyst. This is not a complex and expensive material. And in the future work, maybe we need to think about the scale up and apply to another kind of organic reactions. So using this kind of organic reactions, we can contribute to our environment, and we don't need to get criticized from outside people. And organic chemistry is not polluting, producing chemistry. So this is all I have today, and terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much for your attention. And
Okay,
if you
terima
have
kasih,
any,
Prof. Woon. Thank you very
you can
much.
contact me. This is my email. So thank you again for inviting me to a wonderful conference.
Okay, terima kasih. Thank you very much, Prof. Woon, for your excellent presentation on environmentally friendly solvent-free organic reactions. It's important breaks for our sustainable world. So we will begin for the question and answer sessions. I would like to invite 3 questions of you. Is there any questions? Okay, for the first questions come from a participant here that attend in person. Please say your name.
Okay, thank you for Professor Lee for your interesting presentation. Okay, my name is Nur Hasana and I'm from doctoral degree of science education in Universitas Sebelas Maret. Okay, Professor Lee, we know that most of chemical reactions take place under certain condition. And my question is, to carry out a chemical reaction without solvent, are there any special condition or requirements for carry out a reaction without solvent? And the second is, how if the reactant is solid in organic compound? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for asking the questions, which is very important when you design this organic reactions. So I showed you some examples we can run without any organic solvent. We can run these solvent-free organic reactions even with solid starting material. Okay, I showed you the examples using solid starting material, but the solid material is when we heat the reaction mixture, some material turns into liquid state, right? Then that liquid compound is a reagent. Also, it can be used as reaction solvent. So in that case, you can run this kind of reaction even with solid starting material. And that is the problem. This kind of reaction cannot be applied in all organic reactions. So in some area, on some specific area, we can use this kind of solvent-free organic reactions. And now the plan is, how can we expand the reaction? How can we expand these solvent-free organic reactions to many different types of organic reactions is the task we have right now. Is that might be the answer for your questions?
Enough. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Prof. Wunz, for your answer. Is there any other question from participant Zoom or in participant here? Second questions come from the bachelor's students.
Thank you, Professor, for your incredible presentation. I'm Yulia, a chemistry education student at Sebelas University, who curious about your presentation, especially about green chemistry. I think my question is a continuation from previous question. So the question is, how does the solvent-free reaction you present contribute to the reduction of chemical waste compared to traditional method that use large amount of organic solvent?
Okay. If you run the reaction with organic solvent, at the end of the reaction, you have to remove all the solvent from the reaction system, right? That takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of money. So that's, nobody wants to spend money and time, right? And if you remove the solvent, somebody has to take care of the solvent. That can be go in the air, that may be in the water system, right? That will pollute your environment. So one of the goals we design this kind of a reaction is, how can we as organic chemists, how can we contribute to our environment, not using organic solvent in reactions, right? If we do not use organic solvent, or if we use minimum amount of organic solvent when we run reaction, we can save energy, we can save money, we can save time, and also we can contribute to our environment, not polluting our environment. Is that maybe the answer for your question? Yeah, this is related with environmental problem.
Okay, Professor. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for the answers. And is there any other question from the participants in the Zoom, maybe? Another questions from the participant here and at UNS Tower.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. First, my name is Laila Novitriana. I'm a bachelor student in chemistry education, Universitas Sebelas Maret. And I would like to say thank you to Professor Woon Kuli for his interesting presentation. And now I have one question. In your opinion, Professor, what are the next steps in this research to make the solvent-free method more economical and sustainable? Thank you.
Like I told you, I like to extend this solvent-free reaction into many different types of organic chemistry. Okay, so the goal of this kind of chemistry is expanding. How can we apply this methodology to many different types of organic reactions? That's the goal, right? I showed you maybe 4 or 5 examples today, but there may be more possibility. We can use this kind of chemistry, right? So finding that possibility is the future goal.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Professor Woons. I believe we want to extend our discussions, but the time is up, Professor Woons. Thank you very much for your time and your presentations. If I can summarize your presentations, you talking about clearly so how green chemistry can minimize waste, reduce hazardous solvent, and improve atom economy that emphasize in our sustainable development agenda. So the example you shared demonstrate that solvent-free synthesis offer high yields, safer process, and remarkable efficiency, with E factor reduced from 50 until 100 to below 10. So for the last, thank you very much for Professor Woon Kuli, and give a big hand for Professor Woon Kuli.
Thank you.
As a final statement and to close these first plenary sessions, I have a pantun, Professor Woon Kuli and Professor Vicente. This is a traditional of Indonesia. A boat sails softly on the blue wave. The breeze brings hope along the way. Thank you, Prof. Vicente and Prof. Woon, for your brilliant display. Your wisdom will guide our minds every day. Thank you very much. I am Aris Adil Sidik, and I say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give back to the Master of Ceremony.
Very well. The topic we got here is very insightful. Thank you very much, Dr. Ari, for leading this interesting topic. The following agenda is the second plenary session. This session will feature 2 remarkable speakers who will share the interesting topics and discussion with us. This second plenary session, we have Professor Fitri Rahmawati from Universitas Sebelas Maret and Professor Azlan bin Kamari from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. This session would be moderated by Mr. Zainal Arifin, MPD. He is one of the doctor candidate in the Natural Science Education, Universitas Sebelas Maret. So, without any further ado, please welcome Mr. Zainal Arifin, MPD.
Okay, check. Okay, bismillah, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Professor Dr. Fitri Rahmawati, Master of Science, as Vice Rector of Academic and Research, Universitas Sebelas Maret, and the Honorable Head of Program in Science Education, Doctor Program in Science Education, Professor Sulistyo Saputra, and also, ladies and gentlemen, all of the participants on this conference, my beloved brothers and sisters from Bachelor, Master, and Degree in Science Education at UNS. First of all, let's thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala because of His blessing, we all can gather here on this special occasion. Before we go straight to the topic, let me introduce myself. My name is Zainal Arifin. I am a PhD student at Universitas Sebelas Maret. And currently, I'm also a PhD candidate and will be the lead and the moderator of these sessions. So, in this session, we have two keynote speakers. The first keynote speaker is Professor Fitria from Universitas Sebelas Maret. And then the second speaker is Professor Azlan bin Kamari from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. So, without further ado, let's go straight to the presentation. I'd like to invite our first speakers, that is Professor Dr. Fitria Rahmawati, Master of Science from Universitas Sebelas Maret, to take the stage and share her insight in this conference. Please welcome Professor Fitria Rahmawati with a warm round of applause. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Fitria, for coming here, for the time that you have time for us to give us some insight about scientific literacy in higher education. Okay, how are you today, Professor? I'm fine, okay. So, before we go straight to the presentation, allow me to read the academic profile of our distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Fitria Rahmawati, Bachelor of Science and Master of Science. Currently, she is the Vice Rector of Academic and Research Affairs of Universitas Sebelas Maret, and also she is the full professor in Department of Chemistry, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science and Mathematics. And Professor Fitria obtained her bachelor degree on chemistry from Universitas Brawijaya, graduated on 1997, is right, Prof? Okay. And then pursue her master degree in chemistry at Universitas Gadjah Mada, completing on May 2001. And then earned her doctoral degree in chemistry from Institut Teknologi Bandung. And Professor Fitria has published numerous papers in reputable international journals and actively participate in collaborative research and scientific conference related to energy and material chemistry. And also she is our lecturer. She teaches us about nanotechnology. And With a strong academic background in chemistry and extensive experience in science education, Professor Fitria has become one of Indonesia's leading scholars in developing innovative learning models and also a scientific literacy. So, without further ado, please welcome and let's us to listen carefully about her insight about scientific literacy in the future higher education. So, Professor Fitria, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Mas Zainal. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor for me to speak in here. And today I'm going to talk about science literacy and the future of higher education. I choose this title because science literacy is essential for higher education to make a decision as a response to the progress of education technology. Here are the outline. Next slide, please. Yeah, we are going to talk about scientific literacy itself and then role of technology in enhancing scientific literacy understanding. And then next we are going to talk about global challenge for higher education. And in the end, we are talking about the future of higher education. And talking about science literacy, at first, we need to know what the definition of science literacy. Science literacy is the ability to understand science, its method, and how to apply this knowledge to make informed decisions in everyday life, such as making decision about healthy life, making a decision to get better education, or making a decision on taking investment for the future, and etc. There are 4 key components in science literacy. The first component is knowledge of concept. The knowledge of fundamental scientific principle, theories, and terminology, and understanding concept across different fields, such as the field of life and health, and then earth and environmental, or between science and technology. And the second component is understanding the scientific process. It means that to understand that science is a way of knowing. Science is a way of knowing with its own strengths and limitation, of course, and how science will influence it by social and cultural factor. And then the third key component is application of knowledge, which is how to apply the scientific knowledge to understand and engage with social issues and make informed decisions in everyday life. And then the last component is critical thinking. This is very important component because if we improve critical thinking, we will have ability to analyze information and then to identify bias, and then to evaluate the credibility of the source of the information. And this is crucial for distinguishing reliable scientific data from misinformation, because you know that nowadays a huge of information come to us every minute, every second. That's why science literacy is important. That's why silent literacy is important, bukan because it will inform us how to make a right decision. It will empower individual to make better choices. And through science literation, good science literation will produce responsible citizenship because it helps people to understand and engage with some complex problem in society. And then it will also increase curiosity and encourage lifelong learning. And then next step, when we are talking about the role of technology in enhancing science literacy, the technology too small. I will read in here. Technology will providing interaction, engagement, and accessible learning experience through digital tools such as e-book, simulation software, and some mobile application. And technology also will promote a more profound understanding of complex concepts, encourage critical thinking and problem solving, and facilitate collaborative learning. Here are some technology that we can use to improve our scientific literacy. There's some simulation software and virtual laboratory, and then digital learning platform where we know about learning management system and massive open online courses and interactive e-book, personal computer and mobile application. There are so many applications that we can download from Google. How to download? We can download some application by using our handphone. Google Play Store, yeah, by using Google Play Store. And the application will be in our handphone. And that will be our personal application, very personal properties. And also there is a gamification. Gamification will be useful for students, especially from elementary and primary school. It will help them to increase understanding on science literacy. And also nowadays we know some application related to artificial intelligence. All of the technology will help us to get deep understanding and initiate critical thinking. And those technology provide more accessibility and flexibility because it can be accessed anytime and anywhere. That's why the properties will be very personal. Or in the next, we will know about personalized learning. Later, I will talk about more about personalized learning, but before we come to that, we are going to talk about the challenge to university globally. So actually, university or higher education has experienced many eras, starting from the age of manufacturing, where mass production makes industrial powerhouse. We recognize about Ford, Boeing, and some youth production that we recognize them, General Electric also, and maybe in Indonesia we know about Unilever. And then we proceed to the age of distribution, in which the global connections happen, and transportation makes or serve as distribution key. We recognize about some retailer in Indonesia. We know Indogrosir, Indomart, Alfamart, and we also know about some expedition company such as UPS. And in Indonesia, we know about GNA, Tiki, etc. And then after that, we proceed to the age of information, in which all of the personal computer can be connected to internet, and the internet control the flows of information or dominate the flows of information. And of course, we recognize. I don't think that no one of us don't know about Google, Yahoo, Mozilla. And after that, we move to the age of customer. Still, we are now within the age of customer actually. In the age of customer, the empower buyers demand new level of engagement and personalization. That's why in this era, there are some applications that very personal. We know about Gojek, and then Grab, Uber, Shopee, Tokopedia, even Netflix. Yeah. Netflix is our cinema. So if we went to watch a movie, we don't need to go to Paragon Mall or Grand Mall to watch the movie in 21 maybe, but just open your Netflix with your handphone or your personal computer, and then you can have your movie by yourself. You can watch it by yourself. And then not long, it is only 2 years after that, actually we have entered to the age of digitalization. And the change has been accelerated by COVID-19. And then after that, it's only 3 up to 4 years after the age of digitalization, we enter to the age of artificial intelligence. So today, we are within 3 kind of age of customer, age of digitalization, and age of artificial intelligence. So if we are talking the previous age, so actually there is a theory which is named by human capital theory. Human capital theory stated that spending on higher education was actually an investment in economic growth. Therefore, in this era, education industry growth quite rapidly, and there was a high attainment rate of bachelor degrees in the young population. And then when we entering the age of customer, the education industry must comply to the customer demands. And starting from this era, there are many platforms of international ranking. Why? Because customers need some choices before they decide to register to a university. And the platform, the international ranking platform, also add an overlay of prestige to market. Then the customer have many choices before they decide to register to university. However, when we enter to 2020, a survey found that 61% of higher education respondents said that a degree is less valuable than 10 years ago. And there is a phenomena of decreasing earning premium. So actually in this level, actually we realize that the golden age of university is passing. So how we survive? There is no option for higher education other than to move from a relative university to great diversity of learning delivery method. So there is no option other than accepting that we must mix the real learning environment with virtual learning environment. But higher education institution responsible to maintain the quality of learning. Meanwhile, at the same time, higher education institution must provide personalized learning. And talking about the personalized learning, it means that we must provide more autonomy to students. And then students have an active role in designing lesson and project. And then lesson that will be designed by teacher or by the lecturer should be based on the meaningful to the student, including their interests. And still we are talking about in the age of customer. Based on the survey, there are 76% of higher education institution that has placed their customer on top and higher priority by conducting some steps. The first step is enhance accessibility and inclusivity. I'm not talking about only students who need specific or special needs, but this is also accessibility and inclusivity for all, for society. It means that our higher education institutions should be easily accessed by others or by all society in the world. And we have to transparently inform to the society about our institution. And then conducting decision based on data or data-driven decision. And then globalize their education and manage costs. What manage cost mean? Higher education must consider the capability of society, before decide the cost of education in the institution. So they have to think about that. It means that cost structure analysis should consider the capability of society also. Therefore, there's no option because we are now under the age of customers. Then the quality of personalized student learning will be the key to institutional success. The ability of higher education to transform will be critical so they can shape and respond to a changing world of education. What we can do now, we have to transform our curriculum by adapting the change and then transform the learning delivery system and then develop capabilities of universities, including technologies and human resources capability. So after knowing those conditions, we think about what about the future of higher education? Because now actually we can find easily online platform, education online platform. Maybe in the next society does not need university or higher education institution because they can get knowledge from online platforms such as Coursera, edX, and they can earn certificate also from them. Talking about the future of higher education, I want to start with the condition of Indonesia. Based on Pendidikan, our database belongs to the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology. There are more than 6,000 or precisely 6,478 higher education institutions in Indonesia, in which 127 of them are public universities. 41 are having superior accredited and 24 of them are having legal status or autonomous universities. And there are 4,439 private universities. There are 240 universities under the other ministerials, other than the Ministry of Higher Education, And there are 1,567 vocational higher education. All of the higher education institutions in Indonesia are coordinated by the Ministry of Higher Education, except for that 240 universities or higher education institutions. But all of the higher education institutes should comply or should support the strategic or presidential strategic, which is named by Astacita. And for higher education should support Astagita 2, Astagita 4, and Astagita 5. And in order to coordinate or manage all of the higher education in Indonesia, government released some regulation about higher education, starting from laws or undang-undang about higher education, and then the regulation of ministry about national standard of higher education. It means that every higher education should fulfill minimum standard before they can operate in Indonesia. And then the regulation of ministry about accreditation of the higher education institution and the study program, and then regulation of ministry about quality assurance of higher education. And everyone in this room, I believe, knows that every academics in higher education should comply to Tridharma perguruan tinggi. It means that academic must do teaching or educational duty, and also research and community services. And then next, I'm going to talk about UNS itself. UNS as a higher education institution, of course, UNS also released some academic regulation, comply to the government regulation about higher education, starting from regulation about bachelor degree, master degree, doctoral degree, and then regulation about how to develop curriculum and to evaluate curriculum, and then regulation about fast track program, regulation about double degree, regulation about diploma and applied bachelor degree, and also regulation about recognition, because we also open rekognisi pembelajaran lampau program, ya. Or how to recognize previous expertisement of students that want to pursue this program. Important is all of the regulation must provide space for flexible learning methods to achieve capaian pembelajaran mata kuliah or CLO, course learning outcome, and CPL or graduate learning outcome. The learning method that can be done in higher education should be various, whether group discussion, simulation, case study, collaborative learning, cooperative learning, project-based learning, until problem-based learning. And the regulation also should be flexible to accommodate all of the form of learnings, starting from class, practice, seminar, fieldwork, research, learning outside the program study, or we name it as pembelajaran luar prodi, Jarlu Prodi, or previously we know it as MPKM program. Yeah. And UNS itself has a decree of rector number 367 about the guideline of moda pembelajaran or guideline of learning mode, in which the learning mode in UNS can be done by 3 modes, which are real classes or offline, and then online synchronous learning, face-to-face online, with a specific schedule agreed by lecturers and the student, and then the online and synchronous learning, or we can do it through learning management system or MOC. And considering to maintain the quality of learning, UNS guideline of learning modes stated a different percentage of between offline and online learning. The different percentage for bachelor and diploma degree and for graduate or master and doctorate degree. This is it, because we are responsible to maintain the quality of our learning. What about regulation about online or distant learning? So actually, the Ministry of Education and Culture has released regulation number 7, 2020. There is a clause about distant learning study program. And nowadays, we know there are some online platform, some online learning platform. If UGM has UGM Online, and then UNPAD has UNPAD Luhung. Luhung is abbreviation of learning and upskilling hub for next generation. And then Universitas Indonesia has UIMOOCS. And this year, UNS receive funding from the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, a funding about program credential micro credential program, in which the ministry having collaboration with Coursera, and then UNS receive 450 accounts, Coursera accounts, in which 20% of the accounts should be shared to private university around UNS. From those 450 Coursera accounts, about 900 students involved in a semester. They can take some courses in Coursera and even earn some certificates, because one account can be used in the period of 3 months, and then after 3 months the account will be shifted to another student. That's why in a semester can be accessed by around 900 students. Yeah. And because of the program having positive perception from the student and the academic in UNS, they use the Coursera Universitas Sebelas Maret. So we have Coursera Universitas Sebelas Maret under this program. And due to the positive perception of student and academic in UNS, the program ability to enhance alumni competitiveness also after graduation, then UNS decided to extend the license, because the license which are given by the ministry will be ended in this November 2025. And we decided to extend the license by UNS itself for the next 2 years. So we will have this Coursera Universitas Sebelas Maret up to November 2027. Hopefully that every semester around 1,000 students will be involved or will take some courses in the Coursera, because it will give us benefits. They will earn some certificate which is recognized internationally, and it will increase their competitiveness after graduate from UNS. 10 minutes, okay. And we have also learning management system named as Pada UNS, and in the next we want to improve this Pada UNS. So the next 2026 UNS will release teaching grant, which will be coordinated by LPPMP UNS in order to prepare our learning management system. At the first time, we will ask LPPMP to coordinate or prepare learning management system by using Pada UNS for MKU, or mata kuliah umum atau mata kuliah wajib universitas. Yeah. Last, we are going to talk about the age of artificial intelligence, because we are now very near, or even we have entered the age of artificial intelligence. So as higher education, we have to be adapt and anticipate all of the negative impact of the artificial intelligence, and we must focus on solving some problem related to the artificial intelligence impact to the academic education, to education in our university or in, by identifying and establish relevant policies and framework, and then launch some initiative specific to the university needs, and then pinpoint or identify potential risks that arise throughout the transformation, and then do regular evaluation. About the impact of the artificial intelligence in academic or in education, the ministry itself actually has not released yet regulation about that, but the ministry just released guideline on how use artificial intelligence in higher education. And UNS must anticipate the impact of artificial intelligence in university or in higher education. So nowadays we are drafting rector regulation about AI using in education internally in UNS. We draft the draft has been prepared by Bidang Satu or my part, based on some advice from Senat Academic Universitas. And because we are now within the three ages, the age of customer, age of digitalization, and age of artificial intelligence, which are complex actually. So we must do some step in order to anticipate all of the negative impact to our institution by conducting curriculum administration. This is to justify that higher education curricula with match with society demand, and teaching, learning, and evaluation procedure to anticipate the impact of technology and AI to higher education, and then conducting means about high human resource, financial, and facilities to ensure that higher education resources are ready for adaptation, and to manage education costs in a way that align with society capability. So higher education must establish a cost analysis structure and implement some scholarship program as a backup. And then we also must develop research in order to connect research activity with learning in our institution, and conducting collaboration with industry, with business, and with communities to increase acceptability of our graduates in the society. So now for conclusion, I think higher education, in order to survive in the future, higher education must be adaptive to global progress, enhance science literacy through increasing the role of technology, and then conducting transformative action in curriculum and learning delivery method, and also increasing human resource capability. And then higher education also must enhance collaboration with universities, other institutions, with industries, even with government, to expand our learning role in response to stakeholders and society requirement. That's the conclusion that maybe I can take based on the condition that I have mentioned before. So the next we can discuss further about how the higher education can be sufficed in this era. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please give kind applause to Professor Fitria for the insightful presentation, talk about the role of higher education and also the scientific literacy to face the challenges in the 21st century, like that. Okay, we have 5 minutes for the discussion, question and answer. So if there are questions, that's Pak Imam, Prof. Fitria. Okay, we have one question from in-person participant. If any question from the Zoom participant, you can raise your hand or you can write your question on the chat box. So the first question from Pak Imam.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof. Fitria. My name is Imam Samudra. Your explanation about science literacy was truly insightful and clearly reflect a deep understanding of how education must evolve in this era. It is very enlightening. Actually, I have two questions, Mas Zainal. Yeah. In the first question is about from the perspective of teachers who are involved in the classroom learning. What do you see as the most critical challenge when integrating AI and digital technologies, especially in ensuring that the tools to promote student scientific and creative thinking, not only for merely increasing screen time or unintentionally widening the gap between students who are more digitally prepared and those who are not. And then the second question is about, Profitia also mentioned the importance of personalized learning, actually in slide 11 and 12, if I'm not mistaken, which is very promising, yeah? Especially when the students are given the opportunity to explore the topic that are personally meaningful to them. However, in the context of school, where the student learning is still developing, what do you think the greatest challenge in implementing personalized learning in school or in university? And how can teachers provide students with autonomy while still maintaining structure, discipline, and ensuring that the minimum competition standards are met, even for the student who may not yet fully self-directed learning? Thank you so much, Profitria.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Imam. So, please, Prof. you can answer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mas Imam. The most important of science literation is how to initiate critical thinking. Yeah. How to initiate critical thinking, because if we successfully initiate critical thinking of our student, it means that we are successfully increase their curiosity about everything in life. And how we can promote critical thinking from student? Of course, we have to apply different treatment here for student in elementary and primary level with the student in university, because different credit, yeah, we have to think about it. So maybe you can use gamification in order to increase understanding about something or increase their understanding on science literation for primary student or elementary and primary student. But gamification maybe will not effective for university student, because they need more something advanced than that. Yeah, maybe we can offer students to freely choose courses in an online platform, online learning platform. Yeah, they can choose freely. That's why PPDKM or micro credential learning program offers to UNS students, because they can choose more than 10,000 courses offered by Coursera UNS. And that's why UNS decided to extend the license. At the same time, we have also must prepare our learning management system, our own learning management system, I mean, because it will take longer to prepare UNS learning management system. So at the same time, we can collaborate with Coursera to initiate critical thinking of our student. So yes, we can integrate AI as well as with digital technology to improve understanding on science literation, include to increase perspective about long learning, as well as you can improve critical thinking of student, improve their curiosity. They will always want to learn anything about anything about. Yeah, they will always have great curiosity and they want to learn everything. And about personalized learning, once more, we can we can apply or we can implement personalized learning to elementary, primary, even university student. But of course, we have to manage well based on their capability. We have to implement in the different grade between personalized learning to elementary student and to university student, because student in the elementary and primary level need more guidance than student in the level of university. That's based on our the wise man of teachers. Yeah, I believe that every teacher knows that the student in the elementary level need more guidance than the primary and even university student. Okay, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. My Imam? Okay. Thank you very much for the question and answer from Pak Imam and Prof. Fitria. Because of the time is 40 minutes, so we'll continue our next speaker. So I think enough for the first speaker from Prof. Fitria. Thank you very much, Prof. Fitria, for the inspiring presentation today. So the role of higher education and then the scientific literacy is very important to facing the challenges of the global change and also the AI age, artificial intelligence. So Prof. Fitria have delivered about how to solve that problem and how the role of higher education to solve that problem. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Fitria, for the time. I think enough. Yes, Prof. Fitria can go back to the sit with Professor Sulistyo. And thank you to our participants that very interested on these sessions. Okay, for the last session, we're going to listen and discussion with our respected speaker from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris Malaysia, Professor Azlan bin Kamari, PhD. Professor Azlan, can you hear my beautiful voice?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. How are you today, Prof. Azlan?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. Mr. Zainal, how about you?
Okay, everything being good, Professor. Okay. Before we go straight to the presentation, Professor, I would like to say pantun. Okay. One
please.
point to Komas. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. That's on the one. Thank you very much for coming here, Prof. Azlan. So, you are the last speakers of this conference. And in-person participants, there are a lot of participants, and also in the online participants. So, firstly, I'd like to read about the academic background and curriculum vitae from Professor Azlan bin Kamari. So, Professor Azlan bin Kamari have graduated in PhD in University of Glasgow and finished his Master of Science in University Science Malaysia, and he earned the Bachelor of Applied Science in University Science Malaysia too, and currently he is the full professor in Department of Chemistry, Faculty of Science and Mathematics, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, and he also have H index in Scopus and Google Scholar is so high, you know. Professor Azlan has a high index 26 in Scopus, and also in Google Scholar he has 32. Yeah, that's very high. And then Professor Azlan has a research interest in renewable and sustainable energy, and then remediation of contaminated water, soil and air, synthesis, characterization, and application of nano biomaterials. And he has a lot of publication. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are a lot of. In my screen there are 13 page Let's talk about his publication, currents, and also awards. And then Professor Azlan is also a editorial board member as associate editor for Helion Elsevier, and then the chief editor for Journal of Science and Mathematics Letters, Faculty of Science Mathematics UPSI, and then he also co-chief editor of Educatum, Journal of Science Mathematics and Technology UPSI, and also he have done a peer review for several reputable journals, and a lot of awards that Prof. Azlan have gained from the Ministry of Education, all abroad of the from Malaysia. Okay, without further ado, please welcome our respected speakers, Professor Azlan Kamari. The screen is yours.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, good morning, selamat pagi to everyone. Thank you, Mr. Zainal Arifin, Mr. Moderator, for the kind introduction. Respected Prof. Fitria Rahmawati, Vice Rector, Academic and Research of Universitas Sebelas Maret. Distinguished keynote speakers, respected professors, academicians, researchers, Bapak Ibu, participants of ICOSETH 2025 conference. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee, especially Professor Sulistyo Saputro, the chairman of ICOSETH 2025, for inviting me to join this conference. Thank you, terima kasih Prof. I am so glad to be here with all of you today. Without further ado, I would like to start my presentation. So this is my presentation entitled Awareness and Attitude Towards STEM Among Primary and Secondary School Students. So again, thanks for having me today. I'm from Department of Chemistry, Faculty of Science and Mathematics. I am also from Institute of Graduate Studies, Pasca Sarjana, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris. Alright, so this is the outline of my presentation. Okay, I break my presentation into three parts. Okay, the first session will be on introduction, where I will discuss on PISA status as well as STEM issues. The second part of my presentation will be on my research group findings on awareness and attitude towards STEM, primary and secondary school students. And then last but not least, for concluding remark, I will draw some opportunities and way forward for STEM empowerment. Moving on for introduction. Okay, for introduction, I would like to draw two questions. Okay, the first question is, what is the status of PISA? Okay, do we aware about the status of PISA? And the second one will be on what are challenges and issues related to STEM? Okay, so now I'm sharing with you, this is a diagram, okay, showing the reading performance for PISA results, PISA results year 2022, okay. So for reading performance, the mean reading for PISA 2022 was 476 points, okay. So here we can see Canada, Ireland, Singapore, they are top of the list, okay. They are the countries with highest reading score. Canada is the highest reading score country for America regions, whereas for Ireland achieved the highest reading score for European countries. Singapore, okay, is the champion for Asia region. And here we also can have an idea that Cambodia is the country with the lowest reading score for Asia region. Okay, so now moving on for mathematics performance. Okay, for mathematics performance, the mean score was 472 points. Okay, again we can see Canada and Singapore. Okay, both of these countries, they are top of the list. Okay, Estonia joined them. Okay, Estonia is the highest math score for European countries, and Cambodia remain the country with the lowest mean score. Okay, so now how about science? Okay, for science performance, okay, the mean score for PISA 2022 was 485 points. Okay, So here we can see Canada, Estonia, Singapore. They are the countries with the highest science score. Okay, and Cambodia, okay, remain the country with the lowest science score for ASEAN countries. Okay, so at least we must have an idea. Okay, this is the scenario. Okay, of PISA. Okay, and how about the global trends? Okay, when we talk about global trends, this is a trend for global PISA starting from year 2003 to 2022. Okay, so what is the trend? Okay, specifically for year 2012 to 2022. Okay, so as we can see here, it is very clear that during this period from 2012 to 2022, which is 10 years period, so we can see a clear, a significant decline. Okay, so it is really worrying. Okay, it's really worrying us. Okay, especially for mathematics, as you can see. Okay, the average score is about 400 plus, 470 plus. Okay, almost 480. Okay, so there's a significant drop in average score for each mathematics and reading as well as science. Okay, so I'm showing you, this is the PISA 2022 analysis. Okay, specific for ASEAN countries. Okay, so we have those countries above the average value, and we have also some countries with the average below value. So here we can see Singapore, Vietnam, and Brunei. These are the three countries. Okay, they are positioned at above average value. Okay, for math, science, and reading. Okay, how about us? Okay, so Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and Cambodia. Okay, we are all positioned below average value. Okay, so this is something that we have to seriously think about. Okay, so that we can plan for our generation. Okay, for our students. Okay. Now, I would like to share with you, okay, this is a paper cutting, okay, published in one of our newspaper, local newspaper, Newsweek Times, okay. So, I mean, we all know that, there are there are thousands of research findings out there, okay, published in academic journals, okay, talking about, the trend in STEM education, the findings, okay, saying that there is a decline, there is the decreased trend in STEM interest and so on. Okay, so not only, I mean, this issue, okay, not only been reported in academic platforms, in academic journals, okay, but it is also, reported in newspapers. Okay, so this is one example. Okay, so now this article entitled "Low Interest in STEM Start with Teachers." Okay, says Sarawak Deputy Education Ministers. Okay, so this minister stressed that low interest in STEM start with teachers. So teacher is the main point. Okay, so now he highlighted. So Sarawak is one of the state in Malaysia. Okay, situated in Borneo. Okay, so this Deputy Education Minister highlighted one important issue. Okay, now have a look together. So he says that if we want our children, okay, if we want children to be interested in STEM, they must be taught by people who are also interested in STEM. It sounds very, very correct, right? Okay, so what happened to Sarawak? Okay, this is the scenario in Sarawak. In Sarawak, 55.4% of teachers teaching science and maths, okay, they are actually non-option teachers. Okay, so what does it mean by non-option teachers? Okay, non-option teachers refer to teachers who do not choose to teach a certain subject, but they have to, okay, but they do so because of the lack teachers for that subject in that particular school, for example. Okay, so it's very clear that, okay, more than 50%, okay, of teachers teaching science and maths in Sarawak, they they do not have, certification or background of, science, perfectly practice in science. So this is the issue. That's why the title of this article is Start with Teachers. Okay, so therefore, Sarawak government has called incentives, strategies and way forward measures to increase the number of science and mathematics teachers in schools, particularly in rural areas of Sarawak. Okay, so this is one issue. Okay, so this STEM issue has also gained, and also received a great concern from our Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Okay, so he says that uninteresting teaching methods, prioritizing examination scores, and aiming for correct and precise answers would also contribute to the students' disinterest in STEMs. Okay, so he highlighted this issue. Okay, so I think we all agree with what he says, right? Because uninterested teaching method, especially at this, era, this generation, it's hard, to get their to attract their interest. Okay, so this has been published in the Sun newspaper, with the title "Concern over Student Lack of Interest in STEM," published on 2nd April 2024. Okay, so just to share with you some statistic data. Okay, as reported by Ministry of Education. Okay, the number of student enrolled in STEM stream, especially in secondary school, in Malaysia, was at 45.73%. Okay, that was in 2023. Okay, which this percent can be considerably as low, because in Malaysia we have set the percent for science stream should be 60%. Okay, 40% will go for arts stream. Okay, but up to now it's still not achieved. Okay, and then on February 7 of 2024, the Deputy Minister says that a total of 100 million ringgit Malaysia was allocated in budget 2034 to attract more students to pursue particularly in STEM stream. Okay, now I'd like to share with you another news cutting. Okay, this is published quite recent, on July 22nd of 2025. Okay, the title of this article is "STEM Slowly Being Phased Out Among Malaysian Students." Okay, this title really make us, especially myself, can't sleep, because it sounds very serious, being phased out among Malaysian students. Okay, so why is that this author say so? Okay, the issue with this is that, although we have huge number of student, excellent student, for example like this one, we have 14,000 of secondary school, of high school student scored straight A's in their premier exam, Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia for 2024. But from this number of 14,000 students who scored straight A's, in all subjects, so not high percentage from this 14% of students, opt or choose STEM-based programs in university. So that is the issue. They scored grade A in their science subject, in their mathematics subject, in technology subject in school, but they not choose STEM-based programs at university. So that is the issue. And then just now we talk about percent, of student of secondary school student enrolled in STEM stream in 2023, right? So now the number increased to 51%. Just now we have seen 45%, so now increased to 51% in 2024. Again, it's still not reached 60% target set by Malaysian government. And last but not least, in the context of Malaysia, this is very recent. 11 October 2025. The National Union of Teaching Profession Malaysia, NUTP, welcomes new schools and special education focus in budget 2036. But this NUTP says teacher recruitment needs to keep up, especially in science in STEM field. Okay, so for this budget 2026, okay, an amount of ringgit Malaysia 115 million, okay, is allocated, okay, for teacher training, okay, particularly in preparation for the implementation of new curriculum, okay, in year 2027. Malaysia will have a new curriculum, education curriculum, okay, and of course in this curriculum, one of the aspects that been highlighted in this curriculum 2027 is STEM pedagogy, okay. So I came across with a few several newspaper cuttings from Indonesia, okay, but this is quite long. This is not recent. This is published in 2022. Okay. The title of this article is "Let's Promote STEM Education from Early Age." Okay, I think we are all agree with that. Okay, this is published in the Jakarta Post. Okay, but one important, okay, that really catch my eyes was this statement. Okay, this data: Indonesia only produced 8 STEM-related field graduates per 10,000 people. Okay, so but this is back what we had previously in 2022. I think the number is increased. Okay, so now moving on to another, okay, articles, okay, entitled "Ministry Addresses Declining Interest in Science Among Youth." Okay, this published this year, early this year in February. Okay, interest in STEM, okay, particularly physics, is waning, is declining. Several universities have been closed their physics programs. Okay, so this is what Director of Science Technology, okay, Ministry for Indonesia highlight. Okay, I think not only Indonesia, okay, we in Malaysia and elsewhere, we face the same issue, the same scenario. That's why I would like to make a disclaimer. Okay, whatever I just share with you today is just, you know, a sharing in academic, for academic sharing. Okay, so now moving on, okay, I would like to share with you, okay, this is actually our preliminary result, okay, from a study, okay, which we focus on, you know, we really want to study, okay, the awareness and attitude, because, you know, it's been reported in research papers, okay, in newspaper, okay, saying that, okay, the awareness, the attitude, the interest towards STEM, okay, especially among primary and secondary students, okay, in Malaysia, okay, does show a declining trend. So we really want to, you know, to figure out, okay, to probe whether this is that a real situation in Malaysia, or this is not a real, you know, issue in Malaysia. So we conducted a study, but of course this is just a preliminary study. Okay, so why is that we are interested to study the awareness and attitude towards STEM? This is because the Malaysia Education Blueprint will end this year, will end very, very soon. Okay, the one that we have now is Malaysia Education Blueprint for year 2013 to 2025. Okay, and the government is coming, is preparing a new blueprint. Okay, and will be launching very soon. Okay, that will be for 2026 to 2036. Okay, so for us it's very imperative, it is very important for us to gather information, okay, to find out, you know, what is the scenario, okay, because this is not only to assist the government, okay, but also this is also we talk about SDG, okay, this is actually significant to SDG 4, okay, the quality of education, right. So the respondent for this research is, of course, primary and secondary school students. Okay, for primary school student, we have a total almost 3,000, okay, student. The year 5 is age 11. Okay, the year 6 is age 12. Okay, for year 5 primary school student, we had 1,870. Whereas for year 6 primary school student, we had 1,252. Okay. And then for secondary school students, we have Form 3, Form 4, and Form 5 students, okay, totaling about 5,000. Okay, 1,575 for Form 3, 1,782 for Form 4, and 1,646 for Form 5. So in total, we had 8,125 students. Okay. For school, okay, we had 75 schools in total, okay, 40 primary schools and 35 secondary schools. Of course, if you ask me, okay, whether this number is okay, is enough, the answer for me is we are okay with this number, but we are working on to increase the number, because of course this is way low as we compare to the real number of students what we have in Malaysia. Okay, currently we have about 5 million school student in Malaysia. Okay, in terms of school we have 7,775 primary schools, 2,466 for primary school. Okay, so yes, we are looking forward to expand this research. Okay, especially the respondent. All right. So for the location of school, okay, we have urban. We have divided into urban and rural. Okay, the school has been selected. The respondent has been selected randomly. Okay, so 36.1% of the school are located or categorized as urban, whereas another 63.9% are categorized as rural area. Okay, so now I'd like to share with you, this is the finding, okay, for achievement, okay, in mathematics, science and technology knowledge. Okay, for primary school, okay, we contributed question set and survey set to school students. Okay, so on the right hand side is the example of question that we asked. This is for mathematics that we asked the school student, okay, primary school student. So as we can see here, okay, the overall achievement for primary school students can be considered as moderate. Okay, the mean score, okay, were in the range of 1.6 to 2.3. Okay, so they shows that the achievement in mathematics, science and technology are moderate. So how about secondary school students? Okay, for secondary school students, okay, we did measured, the mathematics, science and technology. Of these three courses, okay, technology knowledge, the only subject that shows high achievement is technology knowledge, okay, with the range between 2.7 to 2.4 to 2.7, okay. Whereas for mathematics and science, both of these course shows moderate achievement for secondary school student. Okay, and on the right hand side is the some example of question that we ask student to answer. Okay, so now talking about the construct, we have about 5 construct. Okay, I'm sharing with you some of the statements. Okay, the first one, this is the first construct, which is we focus on knowledge or understanding of STEM. Okay, so the first statement is, I know what STEM stands for. Okay, so the score was high, 2.92. Okay, I can explain how STEM subjects are connected to each other. Okay, and then we have understand how STEM is used to solve real world problems. And last but not least, I can give example of STEM's applications in daily life. Okay, so for the first contract, okay, actually we have several more statements, but I focus for these statements. Okay, for these 4 statements we can see, okay, the knowledge of school students can be considered as high. Okay, now moving on to the second construct, which we focus on perceived importance or value of STEM. Okay, the first statement was STEM is important for our country's development. Okay, the second one, STEM helps create new invention, new technologies. Okay, and then the third one, learning STEM will help solve global challenges, for example, climate change. Okay, for these statements, okay, the score was high. Okay, and then the fourth statement for this construct is everyone should learn basic STEM knowledge. Okay, the score for this one is moderate. Okay, overall, it can be considered as high for this construct. Okay, the third construct is career awareness in STEM. Okay, so here we have three classes of mean score. Okay, the first two statements, the first two statements were considered as moderate. The first one was I know about different jobs related to STEM. The second one, I understand the skills needed for STEM careers. Okay, and then there's one statement called high. Okay, with the mean value of 2.68. I am aware of the education pathway for STEM related jobs. Okay, and then the last statement, I have heard about people who work in STEM fields. Okay, so that scored low with the mean value of 1.40. Overall, the construct 3 can be categorized as moderate. Okay, and then we move on to construct 4. Okay, self-perception or confidence in STEM. Okay, the first three statements considered as moderate. Okay, so let me read the first statement. I believe I can do well in STEM subjects. The second one is I can solve problems using STEM knowledge. And the third one is I feel confident when working on science or maths project. Okay, there is one statement for this construct scored high, okay, with the mean value of 2.4. Okay, what was the statement? The statement is I can understand STEM topics if I try hard. Okay, now we shall move to the fifth construct. Okay, attitude towards STEM learning. Okay, the three statements, the first three statements, okay, is called moderate. Okay, I enjoy learning science and mathematics. Okay, I like doing experiments, okay, and practical activities. I am excited to join STEM clubs, STEM fairs, or STEM competitions. Okay, and then there's only one statement, okay, for this construct. It's called high mean. Okay, which was I find STEM lessons interesting and fun. So I think with that statement, with that achievement, I mean with that score, it's really trigger us that the kids, they really like STEM. Okay, so now so from these school students findings, okay, we found that okay, why not, okay, we extend the project, I mean extend that research, okay, to university student, because when we interview, okay, we did actually a few interview sessions to school students. Okay, we asked them, okay, we probe why is that you choose this, and why is that you're not choosing STEM or so on. Okay, so we found that there is something happening during the transition of primary to secondary school to university level. Okay, so that's why we try to, okay, we want to probe what is the issue. Okay, so we extend the project, okay, the research to university students. Okay, so the respondent for this survey, okay, involve year 1 to year 3 university students, okay, totaling 1,186 students, university students, and then it involved 8 public universities and 2 private universities. Okay, so I just like to share with you, okay, 4 statements, okay, that we asked them. Okay, actually we have more, okay, but these the 4 important statements. The first statement, we asked them, okay, I enjoyed learning STEM at primary school. Okay, and then 70% of them said yes. Okay, so the second statement, okay, which is very important that I wanted to highlight here. Okay, I lost interest in study STEM at secondary school. Okay, so the percent of university students said yes was 62%. Okay, only 38% say no. Okay, I am studying a non-science program at university. 58% said yes. Okay, I choose a program that has high market value. 75% said yes, 25% said no. Okay, so the second statement, okay, really trigger us, okay, because it says they lost their interest in study STEM, okay, especially at secondary school. There must be something happen, okay, during the transition, maybe during the study during the secondary school. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so we try to discuss, okay, with the university student, okay, why is that you choose non-science program, okay, why is that you do not choose STEM-based programs, for example, chemistry, physics, biology, mathematics, you know, or engineering, okay. Okay, so now we must understand that, okay, we are educators, right? Okay, especially at this era, okay, where our kids, okay, the kids, they have access to many resources, okay. Now, I'm showing you, this is an important information. Every year, the Ministry of Human Resources of Malaysia, okay, they have this, we call it as the My Mahir Malaysia Critical Occupation List, MyCOL we call it, okay. This data is for 2024 and 25. I'm showing you, this is the list for My Critical Occupation List for year 2024-25. As you can see here, okay, the top 11 from this, you know, list, this COL list, is from non-science, okay, from managing directors, finance managers, quality managers, okay, agriculture, until 11, from the first until 11, they are non-science, okay. Only the 12th place, okay, is for chemists, okay, the 13 is for mathematician, actuaries, and statistician. How about physics? How about biology? Okay, they are not even in the list, okay. So now the young generation, okay, our kids, okay, they have this access, they have this information, okay, they go, okay, they read, okay, and then they found out, okay, yes, I am good in science, I'm okay with science, I'm doing okay during my, you know, primary, during my secondary, during my high school, but I opt not to study science because of this. Okay, this is one of the reasons why is that they are not choosing science or STEM-based program at university level. Okay, so now we have, you know, many programs. I'm sure. Okay, in Korea, in Indonesia, in the USA, okay, elsewhere in the world. Okay, we have we have special program. We keep on promoting to young generation. Okay, let's come study science. Okay, we tell them the justifications for that. Okay, this is one of the example. Okay, we share this information. Okay, why is that you must go for chemistry? Why is that, you know, the justification to study chemistry for your university? Okay, for your undergraduate study. So we ask them, we tell them, there will be 30% increase in the demand for chemicals of the next decade. That's why, okay, we require chemists, okay, in chemistry field. Okay, the job for market for chemistry in the US. Okay, for example, like this one, we have currently estimated 87,000 chemists in the United States. Okay, and this number will keep growing. Okay, from year to year. Okay, and it will increase like 6.2% between 2022 to 2032. So, you know, we share this information to school students, okay, and we tell them, okay, these are the top 10 best paying chemistry jobs, okay, and careers. We tell them, okay, if you take chemistry, okay, at university, you can be a chemistry teacher, okay, you can go for forensic scientist, you can go for quality control chemist, you can go for hazardous material chemist, chemistry engineer, analytical chemist, organic chemist, material chemist, research chemist, chemical technician. We have more actually, okay, but okay, the response from these kids, the school students, okay, especially the secondary school student, okay, not really positive, okay, because they keep on saying, okay, we are okay, thank you for the information, sir, okay, but okay, in reality, okay, in industrial world, does not really high amount, number of chemists, for example. So there is the, you know, the challenge to educate, to tell our young kids. Okay, now I come to the some way forward. Okay, what are strategies, okay, to overcome these STEM especially interest in STEM among school students. Okay, so in the context of Malaysia, okay, we have two education ministries. In Malaysia, we have two education ministries. One is Ministry of Education, which take care of school, okay, education, and then we do have Ministry of Higher Education, will take care of universities or tertiary level of education. So these two education ministries work hand in hand, okay, to tackle the STEM issues, particularly in Malaysia. Okay, so these ministries also work collaboratively with National STEM Association, okay, particularly in educating young generation, okay, about the importance, of STEM. So we have three important challenges and goals in Malaysia. The first one is STEM participation target. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the government set 60%, okay, for STEM stream, science stream at school, especially at secondary school. Okay, for now we just achieved like 53%. Okay, so we have to work harder in order to achieve 60%. Okay, now the second one is nurturing innovation. Okay, to develop a generation of innovators. Okay, for future industries. And last but not least, there is a challenge, okay, in gender gap in STEM employment. Okay, it's important for us to address the imbalance in STEM workforce representation. Okay, so they are, of course, okay, there are strategies, okay, there are initiatives, okay, to strengthen, to empower, to improve the STEM education, okay, perhaps not only in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in elsewhere, okay. The first one is, of course, need to improve the collaborative movements, okay, the initiatives that encourage partnership between schools, industries, and communities, okay, in order to enhance STEM learning, okay. So schools, the universities, we cannot work in silo, okay, we have to work collaboratively in industries, okay, engage industries in learning, okay. So that will be spelled out in our new education blueprint. Okay, so the education blueprint is important, okay, because it sets the KPI, okay, because it will draw strategic plans that guide us to develop and implementation the STEM curricula and educational practices. Okay, and last but not least, okay, I think most of us will say, okay, teachers have to be trained. Teachers must be trained. Okay. Okay, so it sounds really hard job, okay, especially to teachers, okay. So, but we have to train teachers, okay, especially on STEM implementation, STEM empowerment, okay. We have to provide them with skills, with knowledge, with facilities, okay. Do we provide them with enough facilities? So these will be, discussed and spelled out clearly in the new education blueprints. Okay, so with that, okay, ladies and gentlemen, okay, respected participants of ICOSETH 2025, okay, I end my presentation. Okay, if you have any question, okay, I welcome further collaboration with all of you. Okay, with that, Mr. Zainal, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to Professor Aslan. Please give a kind applause to Professor Aslan for the wonderful, interesting presentation, talk about the awareness and attitude towards STEM among primary and secondary students. So, we're going to question and answer and discussion about this session. So if there are questions from UNS Tower or in-person participant, there are questions, or on the online participants, please, operator, you can see the chat box if there are questions from the online participants. Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. There are one questions from Professor Sulisto Saputra in here, Prof. Aslan. Okay, this is yours, Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Aslan, for your nice presentation. Yeah, in the case of how to teach a material, especially in chemistry or science. Probably it is so simple. We can use MOOCs, we can use a learning management system and so on. But how about your opinion in order to make a character building for our student? In the case of offline methods, this is okay, but online methods, probably it is difficulties in our system. Yeah. Thank you very much, Prof. Asilan.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Sulistyo, for the question. I think this is actually the same concern, okay, not only from Prof. Sulis. Okay, we are all as educators. When we talk about, MOC, okay, online versus offline, okay, so there is always, not to say, there is always advantages and disadvantages, okay. So there's studies that have been carried out, okay. From my literature, we can see that, people compare, okay, this is compare the outcome, okay, especially when we talk about in the university, we always talk about course learning outcome, program learning outcome, okay. There's another one, program educational outcome, PEO, okay. So what we can see is that, okay, but of course, okay, this is very general, Prof. Okay, this is not, this is from my reading, okay. From my reading, okay, we came across with a statement saying that, okay, by using online, okay, prone to produce, okay, products or graduates with less, merits on PO, okay, kemenjadian anak-anak itu mungkin agak terbatas, agak kurang, okay, as we compare to offline, okay. I think we have this scenario, okay, when we teach in class, okay, when we measure, okay, how can we measure, when we do the experiment, for example, for science subject, okay, science subject must be, there's no option, okay, the student must do it hands-on, but of course, okay, now in order to fit, the requirement of this 21st century learning, okay, we have to offer through online, okay, but some subjects, some activities, in my opinion, it must be conducted physically, okay, we can't do it through online. I think in some cases, for example, if you want to discuss, if you want to deliver some theory, okay, I think it's fine if you do it online. But when it comes to hands-on activity, okay, theoretic, experiment part, practical part, I think there's no way, okay. I think we have to do it physically in laboratory, okay. So yes, in terms of building, character building, okay, those who have experience, the students, okay, who conduct the experiment, simple experiment, okay, not even experiment, like to measure a pH value. I came across, this is my experience, Prof, and everyone in this platform, okay, in this ICOSETH 2025. I have this experience where I came across to one student, okay, third year student of bachelor degree program, okay, he unable, okay, to measure the pH value, okay. We do have the pH probe, okay, but he can't measure correctly, okay. This is the third year student, okay. Of course, when we ask why is that, you have no, the technical part is wrong, okay. It's simple, right? We have to turn this one on, okay. You have to wait for several minutes, to get the measure, to get the value, okay, and then you have to do it again. In terms of technical, okay, practically he failed, okay, because he learned from, online experience, okay. So he went through this online system, okay, but in reality, okay, when he applied, he said, okay, Prof, I remember when I learned through online, okay, so through YouTube, okay, when we turn on, directly we can get the value. But in reality, okay, because he never went through this experience before, okay, he failed, okay, to get the correct value. So this is an example. So in terms of value, okay, maybe I can add more, not only in terms of character, okay, the value, okay, the science value, okay. Well, I do not know. Okay, again, this is my personal opinion. I think, okay, the student, okay, will not get, okay, the value, 100% value, okay, unless they do it by themselves, hands on. Okay, so I think that's all from me, Prof. Okay, Prof. Sulis, to answer your question.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Sulis. This is answered from Prof. Azlan. So, Prof. Azlan, there is a question from the chat box from the online participants. I'll read the question, Prof.
Yeah.
The question from Cheryl Mutiara. Thank you for your excellent presentation, Prof. Azlan. As a teacher or prospective elementary school teacher, what are some concrete strategies that can be recommended for implementing STEAM-based learning? Considering that many teachers in the field still face various obstacles such as limited resources, supporting facilities, and pressure to complete material according to curriculum targets. So that's the question, Prof.
Sure, so thank you, Mrs. Zainal. Okay, yes, thank you also, Ibu Cheryl Mutiara Putri, for the question. Okay, so Ibu Cheryl, I am sure you are a great educator. Okay, Ibu ialah seorang guru yang sangat bagus. Okay, because you have this question in your mind. Okay, I think what you the question, you draw a very important question. Okay, a very important concern. Okay, that we do concern. I myself concern. Here in Malaysia, we discuss this. I am sure Indonesia so also. Okay, we talk about the government who set the target. Okay, we know the status. Okay, we compare our country status with other countries. Okay, when we talk about, okay, we have to move on. Okay, we have to go. We have to fly. Okay, higher. Okay, we have to provide, you know, this to our student. Okay. But in reality, okay, as I mentioned earlier during my presentation, in reality, okay, do we provide enough facility to our school teachers? Okay, just now I mentioned we have, of course, Indonesia, you have more, okay. We have nearly 10,000 schools, okay. If you combine secondary and primary school in Malaysia, we have 10,000 schools. So do we prepare? Do we provide enough facilities? Okay, now again, just now we answer Prof. Suli's question, okay, about, you know, building character, the values, okay, student engagement. So this is the question that we concern, okay. So of course, logically, okay, and theoretically and practically, our government have no capability to provide 100% facility to our schools. Okay, I think we are all agree with that, right? So of course we have to opt for alternatives, and the question regarding this is, you know, to strategies that we can recommend it for implementing STEM-based learning. Okay, so what we can do, how we can go about this situation. Okay, yes, our school may be lack of these resources, okay, lack of these lab facilities, okay, teaching science facilities. So what we can do, okay, so we have drawn several strategies in Malaysia. Okay, we call it as cluster strategy. Okay, we cluster a few schools, okay, for example 5, 6, okay, a number of schools, okay, we cluster them, okay, make them like, you know, a cluster so that they can work together, they can share the resources. So meaning to say, whatever facilities that provide by government, okay, of course government can't provide, you know, facilities to every single school, okay, that is impossible, right? So what we can do is cluster them, okay, your school have to work collaboratively, hand in hand with other school. Okay, perhaps I do not know the number of school that would be ideal. Okay, so yeah, share the facilities with school. And then another thing is that, okay, we have a program here in Malaysia, maybe I can share with you, where school or university must work together. Okay, some school activities, okay, must be conducted at university. Okay, myself, I have to supervise several teachers and school students. Okay, I must allow them. I have to allow them to come to university, to come to my research lab to do some basic science experiment. So I think again, maybe you cannot work in silo. Okay, Ibu Cheryl, start to think about, okay, I have to work with colleagues, with friends at university or maybe at industry level. Okay, I think that's my response to Ibu Cheryl, Mr. Zainal.
Check. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Azlan, for the kind answer. To Ibu Cheryl Putri, I think enough for this session because we only have 40 minutes, Prof, for the presentation and discussion. And we have question and answer from Prof. Azlan and the participants. If there's no question again, I think enough for this sessions. Okay, everybody, if you have your own questions, you can call Prof. Azlan. You can email Prof. Azlan. Yeah, and thank you very much again to Prof. Azlan because we have know about the we have know about the challenge towards STEM education, especially in Malaysia, and we know that Malaysia and Indonesia have same context, I think. So thank you very much. Before I end this session, I'll give a pantun again, Prof. It's in Bahasa Indonesia because in Bahasa I think more better than we use English. Is it right? Yeah. Okay, the first pantun, pergi ke taman memetik melati. Cakep. Come on. Pergi ke taman memetik melati. Harumnya semerbak menyejukkan hati. Terima kasih Prof. Azlan yang terhormat kami ucapkan ini atas ilmu dan inspirasi yang telah dibagi. Okay. The second pantun terakhir ini Prof. Air mengalir tenang di kali, menyapa lembut di pagi hari. Terima kasih Prof. Azlan yang rendah hati, ilmu dan wawasannya sangat berarti. Okay, that's for today.
Mr. Zainal,
yeah.
Please allow me to balas your pantun.
Okay.
Kalau saya tidak balas nanti, kalau saya tidak balas nanti Prof. Sri Yamtina akan marah saya. Okay. So a simple reply pantun to to Mr. Zainal. Okay. Let me read. This is in bahasa Melayu. Okay. Kalau ada sumur di ladang, boleh saya menumpang mandi.
Cakep.
Okay. Kalau ada umur yang panjang, insyaAllah kita akan berjumpa lagi. Prof. Sri Yamtina, hopefully this is okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your balasan, Prof. Azlan, for your reply for my poem. So, all of the agenda, especially in this session, have been fly so smoothly. So, thank you very much to Prof. Azlan and Prof. Fitria, and also all of the participants in this conference. Thank you very much. I apologize if I have a mistake to lead this session. For the next agenda, I'll give to Master of Ceremony. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so we have an amazing discussion today. Thank you once again, Mr. Zainal, for leading these amazing discussions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the end of the plenary lecture session. The next schedule will be the parallel session that will start at 1 p.m. The closing ceremony will be held in each parallel room. Once again, please everyone give a big round of applause of our wonderful speakers and moderators. On behalf of the organizing committee, we express our gratitude for you stay here to join the conference. It's a great honor to serve all of you and see you at the ICOSETH 2026. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.